All right, I think we're live now. Please let us know in the chat if you're able to see us live.
I think we're live.
Um, Yay. Hello, everybody. So Joanna here, and I have Alan from the Library of Allenxandria for the first ever episode of a new discussion series called Why Read? And I know this is kind of not the most creative title or idea to have a discussion series, but the idea was that I love discussions. I love long form discussions on BookTube. I've had a few great ones on my channel, including ones with Alan, especially Malazan ones. But I also just love general discussions. I've watched every Dear Dr. Fantasy episode. Philip can tell you I've commented on every single one of his episodes. And I just love these kinds of informal chats and what we can learn from each other in the community. So I wanted to start my own series. And this is going to be a group thing. This is just kind of an unusual situation tonight because I just pinned down Alan at the last second. I knew he was free tonight because we were going to have our warlord conversation tonight. And unfortunately, Sarah couldn't meet. And so I thought, hey, Alan, you want to do this with me to start off this series? And I did try to get a couple of other people involved in this discussion tonight. And that just didn't work out. Everybody's
we don't
super
need anybody
busy.
else. We don't need anybody else.
No, that's true. It's true. And then I felt embarrassed to ask anybody after a certain point because I thought, oh man, I'm just gonna, face more rejection and I can't handle it right now. I'm starting this new
I
series.
thought it was because people would find out that you asked like 12 people before them. It's like, okay, I'm 13th on your list.
No, and I was scared of that too. Yeah, I asked a couple of people and that rejected me, and I thought, okay, I just can't do this anymore. But I am going to be asking those of you who have channels. I will be asking a lot of you in the future if you want to join in with this because I love this whole idea. And okay, so background for why I want to do this also is huge guilty pleasure of mine, and this is probably not Alan's guilty pleasure, but it is mine.
Almost certainly.
I love watching videos on BookTube of people doing advice videos or how to read more or how to fall in love with reading or any kind of advice videos or bookish wisdom
Let me go
videos.
ahead and sum up those how to read more videos. It's the same as every motivational speaker. Everyone's got the same 24 hours in the day. So their suggestion is always because their suggestion on how to read more is read more. Like it's like set aside 12 hours a day to read. Now make sure during these 12 hours you turn your phone off so you're not distracted. It's like, okay,
Unless you're listening to audiobooks, because audiobooks have to come up on every single one of these
oh
videos.
yes. Also, listen to audiobooks while you're at your job or walking around or doing something else that requires a lot of leisure time that people like me don't have. One that says how to increase your reading time when you don't have any freaking time to read. That's what someone needs to make a video for. Yeah. Because it always requires like I set aside 2-3 hours a day to read. And while I'm working at my job from home or something, I listen to I can't. You know what I'm gonna start doing? I'm gonna start listening to audiobooks while I teach those children. I'm just gonna listen to audiobooks. I'm just gonna say nonsense to them. It's the same thing as if I'm teaching. It will be the exact same effect. So anyway, I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I like those videos too. Because I also want to read more, but it's always like, can't do that.
Right. And I'm the same way, and I'm a slow reader. And I don't think, and I really enjoy watching videos about how to read more and how to read faster, even though I can't do it. I just feel like I just can't do it. But in any case, I think it's because I watched one recently, and the video wasn't just about how to read more. It was about how to fall in love with reading. And it kind of got me thinking, there's so much emphasis on read more, read more, read more. And maybe we just need to turn the question back on, your relationship with reading and why do you read? Do you read because you are trying to hit this like goal, this insurmountable goal? And what does that mean for you that you read so many books in a month versus anybody else and this whole competitive nature? And I don't want to bash that fun for anybody if that's fun for you. But I also just kind of started asking myself, I'll just put it that way. I started asking myself, like, why do I read? Because I don't know if what the reasons I read today are the same reasons that I read when I was younger. And also that question actually kind of scared me. I'll be honest with you. Like when I started thinking about like, why am I reading? Whoa, like, I don't know. It just kind of creeped me out. But Alan, why do you read?
Oh, you want me to answer?
Yeah, sure. You said it would take 90 seconds, so let's hear it.
And Mike wisely responded that I can't answer anything in 90 seconds. You could ask me my name. It'll take longer than 90 seconds to tell you. So, okay. I mean, that's a multifaceted answer. No,
Yeah.
Leslie, listen to Leslie's quality, not quantity, while reading 20 books a month. Leslie, how many books did you read last month? I watched your wrap up. I forgot what you said, but it was an obscene number.
Oh man, and I'd love to have Leslie on and Jake as well. I'd love to have you all on because, man, I have to say this really quickly about Leslie. Nobody loves books more than Leslie.
I don't know anybody that does.
I don't know anybody who loves books more than Leslie.
Leslie's the best. And I don't know anybody that loves Stephen King more than Jake.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Leslie showers with books. She revealed that recently.
I do the same thing Leslie does. I bought a speaker for my shower so I could listen to an audiobook in the shower because I couldn't hear my phone over the freaking water. So yeah, Leslie, how's 16 books a month? Quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
That's so many books. No,
yeah.
Only 10 this month. Oh, okay. Okay. You're right. That's
I can't do it. Yeah. It's just amazing. And I know Leslie has said that she's not a very fast reader, but anyway, yeah. Back to you though, Alan. Why do you read?
Well,
especially right now. Like
right now I read because I have a channel. That's why I read now. I have a channel that I mean, that's not why I read. Like I read because I like to read. I have a channel because I want to talk about the stuff I read. But to do that, like I want to talk about the stuff I read, but to do that, I have to read stuff. But I read now the same reason I play video games. It's why I don't have any games on my phone. So when someone says, "You got games on your phone?" I say no, because I don't play games because I like playing games, really. I mean, every now and then. I play games because I like the storylines. So that's why recently, in the last couple months, I haven't read a ton, except if you count the Japanese RPGs I've been playing, which have over 1.2 million words of text. If you talk to everybody multiple times, which I do. It took 163 hours to beat the last one that I beat. Because there's just so much text. That's like reading Shogun twice.
Wow.
Many words.
I think that should count, honestly.
I think it should too. And then I just read, spent 46 hours reading 600,000 words with that visual novel I read. So I'm literally sitting there. I'm consuming text. I am just also running around and punching things, and but it's a big storyline. And the games I just finished, there were 4 of them in a row, that continue this long story of. There's 3 games, all of which are like this, have all this text, and it's all taking place in the same world, just in a different country. And then there's 2 games in between that just released in America. They've been in Japan, but they just released in America. And then there's 4 games after that, all telling the same storyline. So it's this huge, epic, sprawling saga, and I'm sold. Like I am sold. And so I've been playing them because I love the story, and that's why I read. That's why I read when I was a kid, is because I liked the storylines. I read a lot of D&D books, a lot of Forgotten Realms books. And it's why I didn't like Lord of the Rings, because it was slow and the storyline was like hidden. as a middle schooler. I like Two Towers because I like all the battles in Two Towers.
Yeah.
But Fellowship takes forever to get started for a middle schooler. Well, at least me as a middle schooler. And now I read because I'm a political science major who had to follow politics for a really long time. And it makes me sad. Because now I recognize that I have Asperger's and that like certain things bother me, especially injustice and corruption. And you can't do anything about it in the real world. Like you can't, because it doesn't work like that, because the people who have the ability to do something about it are the ones who are profiting from the corrupt system, right? And if you're outside it and you go to try to fix it, very few people can resist the allure, like, why would you? Like this is what I always tell my students. I'm just like don't go into a store and like point a gun at someone and steal it. No. Like, go to college, get a really good, like, high white collar job, and then just steal from thousands of people, like, from their accounts. Do that, because you're not going to be caught. And if you are, you're not going to be brought to trial. And if you are, you're not going to be convicted. And if you are, you're not going to serve a long sentence, and your money will be waiting for you when you're out. Like, who cares? Like, right? Who cares? Like, the fact that I don't know why we talk about these things, but the fact that, like, someone who is like a very clearly like child trafficker only has to go to jail at night because they've got a job. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Nothing will ever be done about that in our world. But you know who can do something about that? Sam Bimes.
Yeah.
You know who can do something about that? Kelsier. Like who can do something? Falkio. This is why I read, because the little guy can win. And the little guy usually does win in fantasy, at least, for following the pattern of it does. And that doesn't bother me. That's why I like Here Comes the Cavalry. Like, it doesn't bother me that they win in the end. Like, I'm glad that they win. And the other reason is things like Long Press Quartet is I like character studies. Like, I just like, I don't know. I don't really know why the character stuff, like the slower stuff, because Long Press Quartet is very slow, and it's not nearly the other stuff that I like Grey Coats or Discworld. And it doesn't deal with the themes of justice and corruption and stuff, but it does deal with the themes of like family and friendship and things like that. And I like the explorations of like grief and sadness, and I don't know why. That's morose or melancholy or whatever.
No, I wonder too about, like, if seeing these themes or seeing this corruption in a fantasy book, for example, is somewhat validating too. It's like somebody out there is acknowledging the problem or seeing the problem. And there's something about seeing that, even if it's in a secondary world. Whereas in our world, people just get kind of shut off and numb to it. And it's easy to kind of tune it out after a while because that just becomes so normalized. And so seeing it in a fantasy world, it's like we're able to kind of grapple with it in a different way, or engage with it and validate it and care about it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's always been my thing. And it's always been my thing, like, because I was a dungeon master I started when I was 11, and I had the monster book, and I didn't even know how to play the dang game. I was just like, I have this book of monsters, I'm gonna make something up. And then, I ran so many games until like 5 years ago when I stopped playing because my friends moved away or whatever. But that was always my thing. You like, I like when the good guys win. Like, I like when the good guys win.
Yeah.
But I also like when the bad guy wins for a long time, and then the good guys win in the end. Like, that's interesting to me. I like to see what happens when an immense amount of pressure is put on. I like people's ideals to be tested, and I like them coming through the other side with them intact, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of times in the real world, like, we are tested and we fail. Like, I think many people have, and I'm not knocking anybody in particular, but I think many people think that they have morals, and I think that most people have a price, and that makes me sad. Like, it makes me really sad that eventually push someone hard enough and they'll abandon principle, right? And that makes me sad. And I don't think that's everybody, but I think that's the majority of people. I think that's why moral people, or people who thought they were moral, got in these positions where they could profit from the corruption and are now corrupt because it was too tempting, right?
Yeah.
And so I like that. That's all my games were that. Like all my, like, take from the heroes, punish. You will have nothing left. Can you still stay the good guy when you have nothing? And so I like that. I like that in books too.
Well, I wonder if that speaks to kind of like, like resilience too. Because what does resilience mean if
Yeah.
the good guy just comes in and wins every time?
Sure.
But if
Yeah.
they fail over and over again and they're still able to hold on to their morals, like that really means something. And
Oh, yeah.
that's something. And, I know you're in the education system and you see how, I mean, I'm going to sound like an old person and that's fine. I guess I am kind of an old person, but, the whole entitlement idea, that people feel very freaked out if they, and it's understandable too. I think that it's kind of systemic in a way, this idea that you can't fail because you're just doomed if you do.
Sure.
But the idea that you're going to hold to your principles even if you do, like,
Yeah, and
and you're able to
accepting responsibility for it.
Mhm.
I think that is why Long Price Quartet is so amazing, because it explores consequences of every single action. That's the long price, like ripple effects from book 1, 60 years later or 45 years later in book 4. And it's about whether or not you're going to accept responsibility for the choices you've made, and whether or not you're going to pretend like it's not your fault and stuff like that. And we all struggle with that. You know what I mean? And I just want people to have consistent principles. Like, everyone's a hypocrite. Like, none of us are perfect, right? I just want, I don't know. With my students, it's like,
Mhm.
they say that they're, I have integrity. Okay, well, why? You literally just talking about how you're cheating in that last class. Like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. Like, yes, it does. Like, guys, yes, it does. Like you can't decide that this is okay. Like being dishonest here is fine, but not here. Like, that's relativism in that sense.
There's that saying that it's easier to, what is it? It's easier to apologize than ask permission.
Oh, better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
And it's also like when people say that they're nice people. Okay, you know how easy it is to be nice to people who like you and people you like? That's really easy. That's super easy. I bet Adolf Hitler was nice to the people he liked. He was nice to his dog. Okay, cool. Are you nice to people you don't like and who don't like you? The answer for me is not always, and that makes me. And I wish it was not like that. Like, I wish I was better than that, but I try to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I like that these things are tested in fantasy a lot. Now I read other things for other things. I read mysteries because I like puzzles.
Yeah.
But that's why I read fantasies. I read fantasy because it can explore and take action on things that are either too dangerous or impossible in the real world. Was this supposed to be like all this like heavy and crap? Like, is it like, was this all this like how far are we into this? Like 10 minutes? Was this supposed to be this heavy or something?
No, it's perfect. I love this stuff. I mean, do you all like this in the chat? Or, I mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm into.
I think I've heard all of them.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, this is actually where I wanted to go with this, because I think it, and the reason why I like this kind of navel gazing, I guess, if you want to call it that, is because I really think it's easy. I know it's easy. It's gotten a little easy for me to forget why I read. I think because reading can become so habitual, and that's a good thing. I like that reading is a part of my daily life. And at the same time, I want to remember why it's meaningful and important to me, because I think it's easy to get caught up in, oh, I need to make videos and I need to like have a channel and be part of a community, but just forget why it's essential and important, and maybe that changes the reason why. And maybe that, and there can be, and the other reason I love this question is that it's so dynamic. There can be so many answers, none of them wrong. So like you said, you gave a very thorough reason for why you love fantasy. Sorry for the loudness out there. And then there can be another reason you love puzzles for mystery. And I think that, I personally also have been really getting into some nonfiction. And I think that those, different genres have a place. And so I did want to make the question broad. Why read? Because I did want to allow a variety of answers. And, sometimes we might surprise ourselves with where the answers go.
Yeah. And I mean, look, AP and Philip are going to articulate this way better than I can. Like, I can't talk about high concept ideas on the fly. I just can't. It's just not me. I'm going to say the word crap and whatever a lot. And I'm not sure I've ever heard AP or Philip say the word crap or whatever.
Oh no,
Like,
I've heard AP cuss before on videos.
oh no, yes, but not in a generalization kind of way. Like when I say crap, I'm saying like I don't like all that crap.
Oh, I see. I don't think I've ever heard Philip use the word crap, but I could be wrong about
that. But yeah, like I mean, I read nonfiction because nonfiction is, but the nonfiction I read is history. It's ancient history, which often reads more interesting than a lot of the fiction books I read, because just what people did before, I don't know, what people do is just fascinating to me. Human nature is fascinating to me, just like in general, like why we do the things we do. I always talk to my students about why, like they never ask why. Like they do the dumbest crap and it bothers me. All the dumb crap they do, they want to like freaking like turn their hair bright, I don't know, neon pink, or put 5 holes in their head, like so they can stick like a big old, I don't know, like huge chain link out of it. And I'm like, why? And like, I don't care that you're doing it. I just want you to give me a reason why, other than because. Like, because is a bad reason that involves no thought. Oh, yes, there's AP. Yes, he's not a man of the people. That's right. I call him out in my video tomorrow in the opening. I call Phil out for the tyrant that he is. Yeah. So I also like I read now also because of the community. Like I read because I want to be like when you are especially when you're older, like why is it so bloody difficult for 4 adults to have a consistent schedule? Like why can I not have a consistent board game night with 3 other adults, one of whom is my brother? You know, like why is that so hard? Why is it so freaking hard for adults to schedule something? I want to be my 20s again, where literally at the drop of the hat, you know, it's midnight, you can call someone like, hey, like, do you want to go stand on the beach at 1 a.m? And, you know, your friend's like, I'm already in the car. Like you called me and said, do you want to? And I was already in the car driving to you. Like, what happened to those days? So now, like you can feel like you're connected instead of, instead of not having, it's hard to have friends in the modern era. And it's hard to have several, you know what I mean? And especially if you don't have anybody to talk to about books, right?
Yeah.
So I read now so I can talk to everybody on, online about these things. And it's always like experiencing something together and sharing it is so fun. Like I have such fond memories of being in college and going to Busch Gardens with my friends, a group of like 6 or 7 people going to a theme park together. That is so fun. It's still fun going with my wife or like, our family. That's fine. Like it is still fun, but it's not the same as it was like, where there's just a huge group, like all doing something, all experiencing something like new at the same time. And just seeing what other people like, what other people pull. This is why I like videos about what people like in books, like my favorite tropes or my least favorite tropes, things like that. You know what I mean? Because then you can because that's like, what about these people what about these people as people makes them like these particular things? I love Here Comes the Cavalry for the exact reason I was talking about, is I like them to be like backed against the wall, no hope, and hope shows up. Shows up and they either gave up and the cavalry came too late, or they stuck it out. And, the cavalry is right there, having that faith that they're going to get through it. Reading about corruption and Sam Vimes' injustice is because I have Asperger's, and that's my autism core.
Yeah.
It's things that aren't fair. And
but you've also influenced a lot of people too to read books, and that's got to feel really good too.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
So by the way, congratulations, because Patrick did a video today about books that aren't getting enough attention, and Long Price Quartet made that list, and he credited you for getting it more attention in the recent years.
It's excellent. I read it because of Patrick, though. Like I was
what? Really?
I was looking for series when I first started. I was looking for series, because I'm a hipster. I was looking for series that everybody wasn't reading. And I came across that, and I scrolled down the the comments on Goodreads, the reviews on Goodreads. And Patrick had a review of, he was like, this series, because he edited it. He's like, this series, it starts, but once it hits book 3, like, I've never seen anything like it. And I was like, oh, what is this? And so I read it, and he's right. Like, after reading book 3, I'm like, I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. So yeah, it was actually Patrick that, before I knew him, but Patrick on Goodreads got me to read.
Wow.
Long Press.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
But yeah, so anyway, so all this depressing stuff, like,
no, but I think it's also neat on your channel, like you said, that you did a history segment, so you're not just limiting yourself, even though your channel has kind of mostly been fantasy and Sam Vimes and that kind of thing, that you've not limited yourself or boxed yourself to such a degree that you're not afraid to do videos on other things you're passionate about. So you did one on history recently that was fantastic, and then you also did that. What was it that you called it? A story, graphic story, or not?
Visual novel.
Yeah. And I got all hurt because you said in that video that you had been telling every one of your friends about this, and I thought, are we not friends? Because I love time travel.
I didn't tell anybody online. I meant like in real life. Like, I called my brother, and I don't ever call my brother, but I called my brother and was like, hey, like, have you watched this crap yet? And I told Patrick that I had done it because Patrick had watched it. But that's it. But that's the kind of stuff I like to see. Like, I like when people like do videos about their passion, like about stuff that they're passionate about. Like, AP does videos about like the act of writing and stuff like that, which I really like. The one on focalization just recently, I thought was really interesting. And also does stuff they do stuff on Lord of, the Rings of Power, or even like Star Trek Picard. Like, I like that stuff. I like when people post things about other things that they like Jimmy's, I'm reading Berserk or whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
I like that. Like, I don't care that no one's going to watch my freaking visual novel video or my history video. Like, I don't care. Like I don't care. Like, I care that someone isn't a douchebag in the comments. But I don't care if no one watches it. Like, I'm doing it because there are a few people who want to, and because I like it. And I know everyone says that. Like, literally, there's not anyone who says, like, well, almost no one says, I'm doing this I'm doing this for the money and the views and the algorithm. Like, most people are like, oh, I'm doing this because I do what I want to do. But then people are like, well, no one's watching it, so I'm not going to do those anymore. And it's like, why? Like, what do you mean no one's watching it? That's like me when I say no one will read the books I tell them to read. It's not true. Plenty of people read the books I tell them to read. Just really high profile people that are my friends that I want them to read won't read them. And we also tend to exaggerate the negative and ignore the positive. It's like when you're struggling with something, right? No one says, hey, good job. You didn't do that thing that you're struggling with today. But if you mess it up, it's like, dude, like, no one applauds the invisible, right? And I'm guilty of that too. And I'm like, no one reads. Anitha reads everything I tell her to read. Good for you, Anitha.
Anitha really does. Every TBR, it's like she's really talking about the books that you recommend.
Yeah. So, Anitha has realized that she likes the same kind of books that I do. And that's another thing I like about BookTube, is the fact that you can, you find someone who like reads the same kind of, you are definitely excused from that, AP. Like, everyone does want to hear about folk. And if they don't, they should. That was so interesting.
I feel so bad. I haven't seen that video yet.
Well, it's like a modified view of POV. Like, it's POV in a different thing. It's really good. If y'all haven't watched that, go watch.
Can you explain it? Or maybe I'll just watch the video.
It's like, okay, so it just depends on how far you're in someone's head, and like what you can experience as like third person omniscient, third person limited. Like, it's about thinking about, it's from what I understand, it's about thinking sensorially about what the person can, like what you can know in the person's head. But it's like more than POV. It's really good. I
That
can't
is
explain it away.
cool.
Just it's really
I'm
cool.
excited to learn more
There
AP.
you
I'll
go.
definitely
There
watch
you
it.
go. It's that.
I
Um,
love AP's videos, and I think that's something like, especially videos like that too on BookTube, and even just being part of BookTube have really enhanced my not just reading experience, but also I think something that I really love about reading and about not just reading, but sort of talking about books and sort of exploring books is it helps me to sort of take a distance and realize the ways that I'm constructing stories in my own life. Because, like you were just talking about algorithms, and I think it's really easy when you have a channel to look at the numbers and make a story out of that. Make a story out of, oh, the views don't look very high. That must mean people don't like me. Or my channel hasn't grown in 3 months or whatever,
oh,
which
for
mine
sure,
hasn't. And it's
for
like,
sure.
okay, well, I'm doing something wrong. And
Yeah.
like you said, the highlighting of something wrong that's always happening. But I think like through kind of deconstructing what's happening in a story. So not only reading and enjoying and immersing yourself in the story, but then afterwards talking about it, I feel like kind of gives you a sort of understanding of when you start breaking it down and understanding what's happening and how it's working and how it is being so effective. For me, I find, I know that's weird, but I feel like that translates to my own life.
Oh, for sure. I have crippling self-esteem as it is. Like I have crippling low self-esteem and self-loathing just as it is. And I don't know why. And there's no reason to it. I have a perfectly fine life with a wonderful wife and students who I suppose give a crap. But the students that like me the best are the students who are least likely to tell me, which is that's just my lot in life. But so I do struggle with that. So yeah, when like it's not with views on my videos because I literally don't care. I don't check the algorithm. I've never clicked the analytics page on purpose ever. I don't want. Well, no, I clicked it once to see because me and Hillary Bookborn were comparing like the genders.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think is
I
really
think I
interesting.
messaged you about that because
Yeah,
mine at that time, I haven't checked it recently,
I
but
need to
mine
check
was
it again
very much
too.
like hers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I need to check mine again too. So I don't have to click the analytics page because I don't care. But like subs, like when people, it's like, oh well, I guess people like that person better than me. Well, oh well. But this goes back to stuff I like to read and stuff I like to write. I like to read about characters that struggle with their self-esteem, but not to the point of real life where most of us struggle with our self-esteem and are useless. So we just slug around all the time, right? We're slugabeds. But like people who struggle with it but overcome it, because then somehow it gives it's just and it's not like, oh, I take hope from the fact that these fictional characters overcome their fictional problems, right? But it's still uplifting, you know what I mean? So I like characters that aren't perfect unless that perfection is being highlighted to show how not perfect they are. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. So I don't really know where we are anymore. I'm just talking about things that
That's all good. No,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now voyaging was very nice. Um uh
They're talking about that vocalization. You have limited to physical
oh
senses.
yeah, for sure. Yes, the sensory perception. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's really cool.
That
Um
is cool. Oh, I love that stuff. I'm
it,
definitely
it,
gonna have to check that out.
it was fascinating. Woot woot. Yeah. So I wish that I love the feeling of just like, I don't know, like loving a book. And it just hasn't happened for me in a while. And it sucks.
Mm.
And I think I loved so much when I started because one, a lot of it was new. And now even the stuff that I liked in like say Babel or Greatcoats, I'm like, okay, I mean, I do like that. That is cool, but it's not as cool as when I experienced it 3 years ago. You know what I mean? So I think there is a little bit of dulling of the senses, and yeah, but I don't know. I think I read a lot of the stuff that I really wanted to read when I started, and then I started to read a bunch of things that other people wanted me to read, and then I started reading things that I wanted to read on my own, I guess. I don't know, Joanna. I like PJ Parker. One of the reasons I like PJ
But
Parker,
I mean, you just kept, you have to keep reminding me, visual story?
visual novel, visual novel.
I cannot get that in my head. But you were really passionate about that.
Oh
So,
yes, I forgot. Yeah, that
yeah.
one I did bring the So Good back. That's because like from the music, because it's the music you can see, like, you know, there's it's animated, this version was, and you know, there's voice acting for a lot of it. And so it's like a fully like immersive experience. And I was just like sitting there like, oh my gosh, what is gonna happen? No, no. It was just it was just all the things that I liked in my, it was just a really cool experience. So yes, that did, like, that's why I got really excited about that.
That is cool.
Yeah. So yeah, so currently I'm reading God Is Not Willing, and it took about 200 pages, but now I'm hooked. It took about 200 pages to get started, mostly because I don't know these people. Like, I don't know who you are. Like, get out of here, newbies. Like, where are my old people? Like, we're not friends. But one of the funniest scenes that I've read in Malazan, like, I laughed out loud, and you know, I don't like his Scroll Plus or Krupp, so I'm not often a guffaw, but it was funny. Some of the interactions are really funny, and
Yeah.
I really like the Rant and Damask, like, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So far, so I'm about 60% done.
Wow. You're making a lot of progress then.
Yes, I'm forcing myself to read. Like, I just don't. Yes, I just don't like. I have to force myself to read because there are so many other things that I could or want to do also. Indeed. But and they're just easier. Like, reading is just harder now because my focus is being pulled like 12 different ways, and I also know that I'm gonna have to talk about it later, which adds more work, which makes me feel overwhelmed. I feel better since hard resetting. But yeah.
Yeah, The God Is Not Willing actually took me longer to finish than I was expecting. It's kind of deceptive the way it is. And it's funny because I do love the trade paperbacks of like the 10 book series, but I also kind of wonder if you're right about mass market paperbacks just being faster to read.
They are for me. I know for me.
Yeah, because I read Memories of Ice, can't say it, mass market paperback. And for some reason, I was able to get through that pretty quickly compared to every other book in the series. I don't know.
Yeah. I know that I read faster on in mass market paperback. I know that I do because I can read, you know, I read the whole series, the first 10 books in MMPB, and I can read them faster than I'm reading God Is Not Willing because I don't know what it is. Like, I don't read hardbacks fast, and I hate it. And Jimmy, yes, I do take notes, but I don't like taking notes. So currently, because I didn't want to write anything down, I have 3 separate things. I have a broken bookmark, my next doctor's appointment card, and a crumbled up napkin in my God Is Not Willing book in 3 separate places because I didn't want to dog ear the pages of a new book, marking where I need to go back and take notes because I didn't want to. I'm like, I don't want to write this down now. But yes, I do take notes. And yes, AP is right. Vellum scrolls are the way, but unfortunately, like, Barnes and Noble's vellum scroll section has been getting smaller and smaller. Thanks, Joe Biden. But, like, you know, I would prefer to read it like this if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I do take notes too. Actually, I have to admit, so it's interesting with book formats. I do find for some reason, I think I do read mass market paperbacks faster. I don't know why. And then lately, this last year, I have found Kindle books a little easier for me because I feel like I can make the font bigger. And I can also take notes easier on a Kindle because you have the feature to like highlight the text and then do a night note, and I could type it out really fast. And I could also like highlight with different colors and not worry about ruining a book. So, and you
For
could
the,
search your notes and you could search what you did. So I find that so much more
I only
efficient.
have the Kindle Paperwhite, so I can only highlight.
Oh yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And with Kindle, I think part of the reason, I think the font size is the problem. I read the Kindles faster when I make the font smaller, just like in an MMPB. Like I think the way I read, I think my eyes take in more words around the other words when there's more words squished together, and they're farther apart. And this is, whatever. Alan Walker, the scientist, right? This is all nonsense. I'm positing. But I know that I like to read the Kindles with like my font it's like size 2 or 3. But it means I have to hold it here because
It's so weird how much that stuff actually makes a difference with reading speed and stuff, and with the way your eyes move. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and refresh myself on the God is Not Willing, because it's been a while for me now, and I'm afraid I've lost a lot of details. But I did take a lot of notes, so I can go back and look at those, which is nice.
Yeah, there's a part about there's a very quick discussion about the corruption at the top that I was talking about earlier that I really liked, where it's they how the aristocracy has to look nice on the outside because they're so rotten on the inside. I'm like, yeah, there you go, get them, tear it down, unleash Karsa.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm really excited to have that discussion when we have it. I don't know.
Oh, are we still gonna have it? I had abandoned all.
Oh, I thought so. Or are we not? Okay.
I just assumed that since y'all were supposed to read it, y'all read it 7 months ago, that y'all don't remember anything about it. So I was just gonna review about it.
Jimmy, if you're in the chat, let us know. I'd still be down to talk about it. I'm sure I could still come up with my thoughts about it.
Sure.
Yeah. And it'd probably be good to recap anyway, because I'm sure the next book will come out before you know it. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought again. I always do that.
So my train of thought I always lose my train of thought.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did that, by the way, on live stream with Steven Erickson. I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then I just suddenly lost my train of thought. I'm like, I cannot be around Steven Erickson without embarrassing myself somehow. It just always happens.
Same. Same. So, I mean, yeah.
Oh, Jimmy said that he's forgotten everything, but we could try.
I did take a picture, and I forgot to send it to you, of the freaking word Kalik appeared, and I was like, and I took a picture. I took a picture of the page, and I wrote on it no, like in big, like it's just scribbled the word no, and then I forgot to send it. I got distracted. I was going to send it to you because I'm like, no, why is this in this book?
Kalik. And there's also an yes.
Oh my gosh, was there? Oh yeah.
That actually happened in the current book I'm reading right now. I'm reading a book called Sons of Darkness.
Did they say yes?
There's like a few lines, a few times where he says yes. And
no one talks like that. No one says that.
It's a cool book though.
Yeah, I mean it's fantasy, whatever. Like I don't care if someone's gonna go, yes. Like I like when people monologue. Like I know people hate the villain monologue. Are you kidding? I love the villain monologue. Tell me all about your plan. Like, whatever. Like
I do too, but there was one time when I really didn't like it, and it was in this YA paranormal vampire book I read. And the guy was like, do you know why villains like to have monologues before they kill their prey?
I don't like meta. Sorry.
He was like, because we like to play with our prey. And I was like, what?
No, I don't want that's the thing. I don't want the villain to lampshade it. Like I want the villain to monologue, but not like I don't want stop playing with it because you're making it worse. Like you're making it worse by doing that. Just go with it. Like, just embrace it. Like, Rhaeria revelations. Like, embrace it. Full, like, unapologetic. I am going to be the mustache. Like, you might as well rename me Mustache Twirlington because that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand here and, Dudley, here's my plan. And here's how I did it. Like, thank you. But like, as soon as you say like, you wouldn't expect me to stand here and tell you my plan, would you, Dudley? It's like, stop. Just tell him. Like, I'm with you, man. Don't try to be meta because I know what you're trying to do, but it's not hip. It's not hip.
Well, I mean, one of the best examples though of a really good, effective villain monologue is in Guards. Like the person's
Yes.
monologue. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yes. The Grandmaster,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I
Yeah.
think Philip, quoted some of it in his I wanna say he quoted some of it in his, review of that. But yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and the ones in those City Watch books generally are good. Which I like. So
Oh, yeah, Glock is pretty fantastic. Mhm.
I
Yeah, I do like monologues too. I do like them too.
I I also like monologues. When I play D&D, anyone it takes no actions and no time to talk. So if a character wants to monologue, if my villain's going to monologue, they can talk and the battle stands still. I don't care. It takes no actions to talk because I love like huge conflicts where, people are where they are monologuing or talking back and forth. I love that. And I don't know if it's because I grew up on like, Forgotten Realms books where that's all they freaking do. Like all they do is or cartoons where the villain always monologues. But I like it. So anybody who ever plays D&D with me, you can monologue all the time or be like, well, can I shoot him while he's talking? No, you can take no actions while anybody else is talking, and he can't hit you while you're talking. It is free. You get a free freaking Wayne speed bubble around you while everyone's talking, so it doesn't, you can't get hit. Don't interrupt dialogue. I hate that.
Are you gonna be reading First Law trilogy, Alan? Probably not,
I am
right?
eventually. Like I am. I mean, it came up on my patron wheel, but it was right before my hard reset. I am desperately trying to. That is such a good point, AP. I am desperately trying to finish series. Like I really want to put as many series to bed before the end of the year that I can. So the only books that aren't in the series that I've already started that I want to read are standalones. Like I'm willing to read a standalone outside of this plan. But for like the next 3 months, I really just want to like, there's like 6 series I can close if I can just read stuff that I've started, and then I can just begin the year anew and afresh. But I am going to read First Law, especially since it was on my patron wheel. So I might read that Blade itself before the end of the year. But we'll see.
That'd be cool. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I need to read it because I need to see if it's like KJ Parker. Because if it is, then I have a whole new way to be like, guys, y'all sit here and y'all freaking like First Law. Go read The Company or freaking.
I really want to read The Company. That's actually where I want to start with KJ Parker.
Good. Michael Mindlin just read Folding Knife and was like 5 stars. I'm sorry I waited so long to read it. I'm like, yes, wow. That's right. Folding Knife, 5 stars. Maybe so.
So should I start with Folding Knife then?
No, I mean if you like the dark stuff and like First Law, Company's fine.
Something about that appeals to me.
Folding Knife has the best central character. I think he's my favorite. Like I think The Company's a better book. Zara and I both. Folding Knife and Company are within an inch of each other. We both rank Folding Knife as 1, but barely The Company. And I think it's because Folding Knife's main character is Basso. And Basso is one of, if not the most intelligent character I've ever read. And he's written so brilliantly.
Wow.
And it's the least bleak, I guess. So he's like the least depressing of Parker's heroes in the standalones. So that's why. But I think Company overall is a better book, and Zara agrees. So it's Basso that's keeping it just above The Company. So they are basically interchangeable. And Philip, I may take you up on that.
Oh my goodness! Wow, you all heard it.
It may not be till like December, but I may take you up on it.
You all heard it here. So Philip is going to read Sunland Ascents. It's on his fall PBR, I think. So
yeah. So he's going to read it anyway. But I mean, I should read Blade itself. I should join the community at large and read.
And it's not too late to join the Wars of Light and Shadow read along.
Yes, it is, because it's 7 books and it's 2. I wanted to join that so bad because everything anybody has said about it, it sounds so cool, and it's based on real historical war, which are my favorite of all fantasy books, the ones that are based on real wars. But it's so long, and it's 11 books, and I can't commit to reading one book a month of a trilogy, let alone 11 books in 11 months. I can't do it. I just can't. And so instead, I'm just gonna, like, while y'all are having your video live on Saturday, I will be playing my rainy day music loudly and standing against my window, putting my hands on the glass, like, and I'll have like sad music in the background, just like. In fact, I'll film myself doing. I'll wet my hair, just like.
No.
If it rains tomorrow, I'll film it. I'll film me really outside getting rained on. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this is the problem with BookTube. BookTube is permanent FOMO. Like, I wish people who don't have FOMO, and people who don't procrastinate, and people who like getting up early in the morning,
I get up,
or who are really able to get up early in the morning, have such an advantage over people who have FOMO, are tired in the mornings, and procrastinate. And I tell my students that. I'm like, if you're a morning person and you get stuff done like right away, you are so much better primed for success or for an easier time in life than those of us who are night owls and put crap off.
Yeah, well, I can't. I know most people read at night. I have to read in the morning. If I don't read like before breakfast, it doesn't happen. I don't read that much, or I do read. I read every single day. I make myself read every day. Like,
you carve out those 3 hours a day, and that's how you read more, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, before I had a channel, I was reading 3 hours a day. I did get to that. I did get to that point, but it was also there were reasons behind that. One is that we were in lockdown, and I had I was able to do it, but I also I know this is kind of weird, but I don't read like most people. So when I watch your reading sprint videos, I'm just like, how are they doing that? Because if I just sat here and read, my back would be in bad shape. And actually, when I started getting back into reading again, I started having a lot of back problems because I was trying to sit down and read. So I mean, I'll give you all that behind the scenes, but I have a stationary bike over there, and I have a treadmill way back there. And I read while I'm walking on my treadmill, and I read while I'm on my stationary bike. Otherwise, I just have physical problems.
I'm able to do it because it will force me, because as I said, I have other things I want to do. And also, I find that I have to move. Like, I can't read on my couch because the couch is where I sit and watch TV and play video games. So if I sit down on that couch, I'm not going to read. I can have every intention to read. I'm not going to. I might hold the book for a minute. I might read a page or two. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to pick up my controller, or I'm going to turn the television on. One of those two things are going to happen, or I'm going to play on my phone. I have to move. Like, I have to be in a different location. And so my desk is fine. And yeah, it hurts. Like, I lean back and, it hurts, but.
And by the way, Philip, I do realize how pathetic that sounds. But I spend way too much time with BookTube stuff.
But I can't read in the morning. I get up and I got to go to school. I have to get to school early enough to prep the crap I have to do for that day. I can't do anything until 4 o'clock when I leave the school.
Yeah.
I just can't. And if I try to read during lunch, no, like I need to freaking be grading papers, because the thing is, I won't do work at the house. I will tell myself I'm gonna do work here, and I can sometimes force myself to do it at like 11:30 because it has to get done. But I hate working here, so I work through my lunch every day, because if I tried to read, I'm gonna have a kid walking in being like, Miss Walker, Miss Walker, Miss Walker, Miss Walker, Miss Walker, Miss Walker, Miss Walker. Stop it!
You're popular with the kids.
No, I'm not. They just have bad grades because they won't do their work. And so, Ms. Walker, how can I bring my grade up? You can study. You can go back in time and study. Or you can, sign this. Let me see all your notes. Oh, I didn't take any notes. Well, there you go. That's why you failed. So come back to me after you've written all your notes and after you've seen one of my advanced kids for tutoring. And then they won't. So I don't have to give them another test. So That's easy for me. But I mean, I have to grade. Like I got to do grades during that, and so I really only get to read when I get home. I fall asleep because I have it's my medical issues. I'm just tired. So I read like the last hour I'm up. I can read from like 11 to midnight is when I read. And that's all I can do. On the weekends it's better. And like today, I didn't have to work. So I didn't either, Jimmy. Same thing. I didn't have to work today. So I got to read more today. So on the weekends it's better. But during the week, my brain is such in work mode that I'm lucky if I can't be like Jimmy that reads 100 pages a day. Like I'm lucky if I can get 50 pages in a day. But usually I'm reading something that's too hard to read. Like I can't. It'll take me 2 hours to read 50 pages of God Is Not Willing. So
yeah. Oh, I'm a very slow reader. Yeah. Audiobooks actually, I mean, I know I was just making a joke about audiobooks earlier, but honestly, I go through moods where I'm really into audiobooks, and right now I'm happen to be in one, and wow, they've been really helping me through it a lot to some degree.
I cannot do audio for books that I have, for fantasy books I haven't read. Like I can't. Like I just miss too much. But I don't mind doing them for.
I don't do them for fantasy.
I'm doing it for stoner, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it. I do it for fantasy books I've read before. It's amazing for those, and I can do it for historical fiction because I'm not going to miss some key world building detail about Napoleonic France.
Yeah.
Like, and if I do, I don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just yeah. But I'm hesitant to do them for like Agatha Christie because I'm afraid I'll miss some like key detail for solving the crime.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love mystery. Actually, I used to love mystery thriller books through audiobook. And that's actually the cool thing about audiobooks for me is that they do get me to read other genres.
Yeah,
so I've actually been getting into a few more nonfiction books, which I'm going to be talking about soon through audiobooks. And Stoner, I mean, that's not nonfiction, but man, that was one of the best audiobooks. I mean, I don't know. It's just such a good book.
So Stoner, I'm afraid I'm going to walk away from Stoner acknowledging that it is a fantastic book that I just don't really care for. No, it's a fantastic book. I just don't like anybody. Like I find it like it is like it's like the Battle of Midway, like because everyone's mid. Like everyone is just like it's just like watching everybody on like it's just it feels like I'm just like I'm like it's the Truman Show. Like I'm watching Stoner. There's a camera crew following this schlub around who is just.
I can actually kind of see the Truman Show idea there.
Like Edith Stoner, throw her crap in the sunroom. Like, get out of my face with this crap. And freaking Charlie Walker, like, oh my gosh, what an insufferable.
Yeah.
Like, I just got to the part where dude waited till everybody else was done with their dissertations so he could like rip up. Like, you twerp.
Oh, I hope you do a review. I just cannot wait.
But the thing is, I think John Williams is an amazing writer. Like, I am not bored. I just don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
the book makes me uncomfortable, which is good. A book should. So I don't think I'm enjoying it, but I think it's really well written. So, like,
You're totally validating Baron's thoughts on this book.
Do you agree, Baron?
Yeah, he totally feels the same way as you.
Oh, really? Okay, awesome.
Yeah. He has said the same thing. He was like, the writing is so good.
John Williams is a brilliant author. That's why I'm reading. I'm reading with my patrons in November, Augustus. So it's John Williams, but it's epistolary about Emperor Augustus. So I got John Williams writing with freaking Emperor Augustus. So
wait, really? Like he wrote that book?
Yes. Yeah. Same guy.
Oh, wow.
So I am very excited to read that one, because I think John Williams is great. Like I don't know. It's a really good book. I just don't like anybody, and it's hard to root for Stoner because it's just like, just advocate for yourself, man. Like, and that makes me uncomfortable because I have trouble advocating for myself.
I don't know why, like, he got to me though.
I mean, the problem is I don't want to follow someone who has a mediocre job where, like, you know, is mediocrely appreciated by the mediocre people in his life. Like, I have that. Like, I don't need to read about me back in 1920. You know what I mean? Like, he's my ancestor. It's just like, here's your life.
He's kind of like the complete inverse, or the complete opposite of fantasy heroes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The complete opposite.
Jimmy and I were talking when Jimmy was like, about one, like, Jimmy hates Senlin from Senlin Ascends because he like loses his wife at the very beginning, like in the lingerie section. She's just like, oh, I lost my wife. I'm just gonna wait here. Last time Jimmy and I talked, I said, Jimmy, freaking William Stoner would do that exact same thing. Thomas Senlin is freaking William Stoner. Like, they're the same. They're the same, except that his wife actually likes him. But they're the same kind of, like that, and that's one of the reasons I really like Senlin Ascends, is because Senlin felt so different from the standard fantasy hero.
Yeah.
Just like William Stoner. Like, it's like if someone from real life got dropped into that situation, they'd be just as, you know, bad decision making as freaking Senlin. I mess with AP Sen. I'm looking at.
He was making a joke because there's a John Williams composer.
Oh yeah, it was hard. It's hard for me not to hear Jurassic Park every time. Maybe at the end he'll find a dinosaur or something. Right on.
Yeah. Oh, they're Baron. Yeah, writing was great. I love the realist fiction movement. I just disliked the message.
I don't know the message yet because I'm not done. But yeah, I just wish, like, advocate for yourself, Senlin. Like, I keep wanting to say Senlin. Like, I keep wanting to say Senlin because more than one time I'm like, it's freaking Thomas Senlin. Like, do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Andy Stoner, honestly, is like one of my very favorite books of the year, which is so weird as a fantasy lover. Like, I don't even know how to explain it because
Leslie agrees right here about Senlin as
yeah.
Leslie, well, I bet you have not read that last book yet. You have not. I bet you haven't read the fourth book yet.
See, I love the ordinary man trope, I guess, because and here you go. You said that you like it when you hear people say their favorite tropes and stuff. I don't know if this is a favorite trope necessarily, but I think what speaks to me about the ordinary person trope is that, yeah, I guess that is a trope I really like now that I think about it, is because I heard this saying once, and it's that we each lead bigger lives than we know. So you might think like, oh, I'm just an ordinary person and people don't pay attention to me. I guess I kind of live like that. I think, oh, people don't really pay attention to me. They don't really care about me. Sometimes I have that story going on in my head. But then if you zoom out and you think, well, people from a distance might be seeing you live this quote unquote ordinary life, and that adds meaning to their life, like what this ordinary concept is. And that in some way is informing their concept of themselves. So there's like a ripple effect. And so I just love that saying that we each lead bigger lives than we know. Yeah. And so the ordinary man trope is just making me think, you know, Stoner is such an unremarkable person. If you all read just the first 2 paragraphs of that book,
yeah, that's great.
That is his life. Like, that's the whole book.
Yeah.
It's somebody who just lives and dies and nobody pays attention. It's a professor that you probably just didn't think twice about and just seems gone. But there are so many things about that just, that's what breaks my heart about him.
That's too real for me. That's too haunting. that's my fear. Like,
yeah,
like
me too.
What reward do I have for teaching? Like, it's certainly not the acclaim, respect, or money. And so everyone's like, oh yeah, but they'll remember you forever. I mean, maybe. And if they do, like, I mean,
for some reason, I feel that way too. And even I've had students, I've been very blessed to have very great students. Yeah. And I've had several that have told me, oh, wow, your class has changed my life. You know, I've had some very kind things said to me, but there's a part of me that just can't take it in. That's just like, Thanks. I really appreciate it, but I just can't fully embrace that. I'm like, no, that's you. And, I don't know. Like there's some part of me that just can't absorb that. I don't know what that is,
Yeah,
but
for sure. I like that ordinary person as well. One of the things people don't like, one of the things people dislike, especially about like the fourth book of the Books of Babel, is that Senlin, he doesn't ever increase in power. Senlin remains a normal school headmaster who does not have any special abilities or power. And people are mad that he stands around not being able, not stands around, but he can't help. He can't do a ton in the bigger than life things that are going on. It's like, what do you want him to do? Like, what do you want him to do? Like, teach someone English? You want him to explain the structure of Great Expectations? Like, is that what you want him to lecture somebody? Because he does. He lectures people. But it's like, I don't know what you want from him. I personally like the kind of weak person surrounded by stronger people, which is one of the reasons that I like the movies of Fellowship of the Ring, because them hobbits can't do jack. You know what I mean? Like, it's the people around them that can do stuff. But so, and I've been teaching for 10 years. Someone asked me that. This is my 10th and a half year of teaching.
That really is a common, I guess that really is a common trope in fantasy then, huh? Just the ordinary.
I mean, no, I don't think it is, because usually the ordinary person thinks they're ordinary, but they're actually really special and get a whole bunch of power.
Oh,
it's rare that they stay weak or stay without, like
this kind of good. It's funny. I just filmed and hopefully I'll post it maybe tomorrow. I don't know if I'll get organized enough because with the thumbnail and all that, but I did record my review of the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. And I think that one thing that I loved that made me fall in love with that trilogy so hard was it's in first person narration with Derval. And the thing is, with first person narration, with the books that I've read in first person narration that are fantasy and sci-fi, it's like the first person character usually has some special ability, or the story is all centered on them in some way, or there's some like major catalyst or something big like that. And Derval, even though he's chronicling his story, he sort of paints himself to be, whether he's reliable or not. I know first person narration is always questionable, but he paints himself to be the side character. And I mean, in some sense, that's how we'd see him too, because you don't hear about Derval when you hear about Arthurian tales. But he really just he doesn't make himself the focus at all in book one.
For sure.
He's like Arthur, and Merlin. And honestly, at first I wasn't totally attached to his character. I was just like, this is cool. This is a cool choice. I'm learning about Arthurian tales or an Arthurian tale through a side character. Mm-hmm. But then because he did that, because he kind of downplayed himself, it's sort of, I think, worked in the favor of me building a slow trust in him. Yeah. And then before I knew it, I was just totally in love with him and just feeling everything he was feeling. And it was just like one of the most effective uses of first person I've ever read, because the narrator isn't trying to sell like how special and capable or whatever,
He's trying to undercut that. He knows that the story, like he's like, these legends that you're hearing are not true. Like they are propaganda. Like here is what is actually happening. Because the queen or whatever that keeps coming to him is like, that's not right. No, that's not right.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Because she's heard all the songs about Arthur and Lancelot. Yeah, I like that.
I had a conversation with this about this with Richard Swan, who wrote Justice of Kings, because he wrote it in that same narrative structure. Like, because it's the main character of that book. It's not about. It's told from his secretary, essentially, his secretary's perspective. So you're getting the view of the larger than life figure from a non-larger than life figure. And he was inspired by Robert Harris's Cicero trilogy, which is written by Cicero's slave and scribe, Tiro. And it's so that you can see these huge characters. Like, I think it's way more effective. I like it way more than if I was from Cicero's perspective or from Julius Caesar's perspective. Like those guys, they're just, they're so steeped in legend and mythology and reputation that I like seeing them from the perspective of a regular person. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing with Derval and Arthur.
Yeah. 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 I love how it demystifies the whole Arthurian myth and at the same time subtly builds it too. But I'm sure we could talk about that on Monday night. Just a brilliant trilogy. If you all don't know, Alan is the number one most influential person on me picking up Warlord trilogy this year.
So good.
And I have to say, it's now my favorite trilogy. Unless you count Lord of the Rings as a trilogy, most people count Lord of the Rings as a standalone. If you count Lord of the Rings as a standalone, then Warlord's now my favorite trilogy of all time.
Warlord trilogy I was unprepared for how good it was. Like I was not, and I don't, I do like hyping things, so I'm fine with that. But like I was not prepared for how much I enjoyed Warlord. Like, and I know that if I had read it and didn't have Jonathan Keeble's narration, I would have enjoyed it less. But like I don't think I'll ever read it. I think I'll always listen to it because it is just so good.
I did both. I had the ebook and the audiobook.
Nice.
Because I just, especially with book one, there's so many names that are thrown at you. I think it would have been hard for me to keep track of what was happening, but
it would have been way harder if I'd have looked at them. I only looked at them after I'd finished the book. I'm like, that's how you spell Gorfithid?
Oh,
how are there 8 D's in this? It's Gorfithid. Like, what? I would never. And then his name's spelled Derval, right? Like,
Derval.
You can tell who hasn't listened to the audiobook because they say Derval. It's like, no, it's Derval.
Derval. Yeah. Does he say Derval in the audiobook? I don't remember.
No, it says Derval in the audiobook.
Okay. It does say in the cast list though, in the book, it says pronounced Derval.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, but
so it does say that in the book. But
and then reading it without Merlin's voice, like, oh, Derval, don't be stupid, Derval. Oh, you're just being stupid. Like, let's
like,
go.
You're not a very clever person.
Yes, exactly.
Faith is inexorable. Yeah. Oh.
I love Merlin. He's so mean.
When you told me there was a dark Merlin character, that was all you had to say to sell me on Warlord.
That is my favorite depiction of Merlin, even over Sword in the Stone Merlin, which was my favorite prior to this.
Well, it was perfect. I rewatched Disney Sword in the Stone before starting The Winter King.
To Bermuda.
Well, I always say with Disney Sword in the Stone, there were 2 scenes in that movie that traumatized me growing up. One is the squirrel scene.
It's so gross. And then when like, I told you, I'm a boy. That's what it does. It's just like that. You know what I'm talking about. Is it not just like that?
Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God, you did the perfect impression of that squirrel.
I've seen that movie.
Oh man, that was hilarious. Yeah, so that squirrel scene though totally traumatized me.
I'm listening. I'm
and the going to Bermuda. So yeah, the squirrel scene I'm talking about is when there were 2 squirrels. There was a squirrel that I'm sorry, my goodness, that made me laugh so hard. There was a squirrel that basically was traumatized when she finds out that Arthur is a human and not a squirrel, and when he transforms back into a boy. And then there's the fat old squirrel who realizes Merlin is not a squirrel but a man.
She's trying to get with old Merlin squirrel who's blue. I guess he's gray, but
oh, I love that. And I love how he's like singing the song about love and suddenly he's like,
he's like rolling the acorn down his shoulders. Whoop, and then, and poor Wart's being chased by and Merlin didn't even realize that the big squirrel is like, woo, like,
oh man, I'm dying. That is just so funny. You just did
fish. The barracuda scared the crap out of me.
The barracuda?
When they turn into fish, the barracuda almost gets them.
Yeah, that was scary. But also the scene that traumatized me was when Merlin's like, I'm flying to Bermuda.
Yeah,
you learn nothing.
Wart ticked him off. It's like, fine.
But no, it was just so abrupt. It was just like, Wow. I mean, it seemed like he was already in a bad mood to begin with when Wirt approached him. He's like, I'm going to be a squire. You should be so proud of me.
He's like, no, dummy. I don't care about that. Archimedes is the best.
Oh, I know. Archimedes is the best.
Archimedes
I love that movie. I love it just as much today as I did when I was a kid. It's just, it speaks to my soul. So yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So Warlord was already going to be a winner for me.
Really good. We're going to talk about that Monday.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that Monday night. And I think we're starting spoiler free. It's going to be on Alan's channel.
Yeah, come talk about Warlord with it.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a review for that. I don't know if I'm going to post that tomorrow or I want to post it before our talk, but I don't know if that'll happen. We'll see. Anyway, I keep getting this question. I'm so sorry. I haven't answered it. I am a music teacher, but also my job is kind of weird. So I work in admin and music, and I do have degrees in music. I'll just say that. I have a PhD in music ed. Yeah.
You have a PhD?
Haven't we gone over this?
Yes, and I have
we went over this in
recollection.
Florida. Remember?
Did we say something about calling you doctor?
Nobody calls me doctor because
you have a PhD.
Yeah, I know. Well, people call me doctor where I work, but
that's what I'm saying. Like we call Philip doctor.
I know, but
why does Philip get called doctor?
I'm not the fantasy kind. So
no, you know what, guys? Just hashtag justice for Joanna. We're no longer calling Philip doctor. We're just saying Mr. Chase, Mr. Fantasy. We're no longer calling him Dr. Fantasy. Joanna is now Dr. J.
Dr. J. All right, I'll take it.
That's right. So
I watched
join me in this.
Oh yeah, I did too, Mike. I watched that movie probably more times than any other movie in my life.
Oh, it's so good.
And pretty sure it's why I saw Le Morte d'Arthur by Mallory. I read Le Morte d'Arthur in high school, but I don't remember it. And I feel so embarrassed about that. I just don't remember it. I remember being excited about reading it, but I just don't really remember anything about it.
No, we're stripping Philip's title as deserved.
Oh, thank you.
And no, I do not. I do not, AP. I do not. I have a. It took me 8 years to get my bachelor's.
It took me forever to get my bachelor's. It took me like 5 or 6 years.
Swapping majors and
me too.
A bunch of different classes and
yeah.
I did like, you need to graduate, bud. I'm like,
and I couldn't. I just loved being a student.
Honestly. Me too, Joanna.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like even just getting my PhD, I did always have the dream of getting a PhD, but it was more like I really did it for the journey. I know that sounds crazy. My doctoral school days were some of the best days of my life. I actually had the best time up until like dissertation writing. That was not fun. Yeah. But I did have a really fun time being a student. And by the way, Mike, that is fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Students who are older are so much better students. They are so much better students.
For sure. If I'd have finished my bachelor's in 2 years if I could go back now and do it.
Yeah.
And yes, we got to get one of those. Give me one of them online PhD. I'll skip the master's and just go straight to a PhD from some university that wants my money.
Yeah. Well,
why is everyone I talk to a freaking doctor?
Well, it's neat though, because one time my mom, I think I told you about this, but my mom was watching your rant on something at one point. She watched one of your videos. She's like, Joanna, I watched Allen and he was talking very passionately about the importance of learning for learning's sake. Yeah, and it meant so much to her. She felt so validated hearing that because she was pursuing her master's degree and then decided she wanted to be a mother instead. Mm-hmm. And so she dropped out of school to be a mother, a stay-at-home mother. It was a decision she made with my father. My father was working full-time as an electric engineer. And she still felt passionate about learning, but somebody like a relative or some sort, her sister-in-law made some kind of not so nice comment about, oh, what a loss that she became a stay-at-home mom. And my mom really took issue with that because she's like, I still love learning. And she just felt so validated by your talk about that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Like, good for your mom. Like, you can do what you want to do.
Oh, and she's like one of the smartest people I know too. It's crazy. I mean, she was listening to Stoner after I was, and I was listening to it with her. And man, she's so fun. Like, she was telling me this story about how she was meeting with this guy who was, I can't remember if he was a doctor or a lawyer or something. And they were talking about some book, and she started talking about all these different aspects of the story and the context and the characterization and the structure. And afterwards, he just looked at her and he said, when I read a book, I just read a book. He's like, I don't look at it like that. And she was telling me, she's like, I learned a valuable lesson from that man. I learned that, you don't have to take books so seriously. You could just read them and not have to, look at all these like techniques and ways of analyzing them. I'm like, no, Mom, that is so cool. Like, you should definitely do that. I was so sad that she had that takeaway from it.
For sure. Like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to take everything so seriously. And I take myself seriously in certain things. But I mean, I didn't read for any of that until I started BookTube, and then I pay more attention to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Stoner is a book that I would have listened to if I wasn't on BookTube, because I'd listen to it and I'd be like, I'm not really enjoying this. I don't really like anybody in this. It's in Missouri in like the Depression, which, it's the Depression and Missouri and a farmer's kid who is a middling teacher with a wife who's the worst. And I don't know. I'm just like, who cares about these people? Like, I don't know. It's so good. And I just want better for Stoner, but he's just,
yeah. Oh, yeah. He's kind of a tragic character in some ways, I think.
He makes me sad.
Yeah. But I don't know. There was something about him I don't know. It's the writing. It just has to be the writing.
Really good.
If anybody else wrote that story,
for sure. It would
not be that good.
It could easily be snooze fest. Because it's not boring. I'm just like, and the problem is, and the other reason is that I know where it's going. It's not going anywhere that I want it to go, because in my head, I'm like, okay, all right, here's how it's gonna go. Okay, cool. All right, everything's gonna, come to where. No, it's not. It's gonna end up as bad as it is now. And I know it is. And so none of my freaking fantasy tropes are gonna take hold. And it's gonna make me sad. I'm just gonna end up being sad. Like,
maybe this was the wrong choice for you.
I'm gonna change my last name to Stoner, where I die and all my students are like, oh yeah, I took a class with him once, and that's it.
But I guess it's like my fantasy that somebody would read that book and appreciate people they pass by who might seem like a William Stoner in real life, and I don't know.
Oh, sure. Like we have, every time we have one of these freaking days, teacher work days, we always like celebrate. There's always like my admin, they try so hard, bless their hearts. They're trying to celebrate, like, build morale, because morale's terrible. Like, you're not fooling anybody, guys. Like, you can have friends themed meetings all you want. You can tell us to pivot, with a video. That's fine. It doesn't change the job, guys. So they really try, but it's always the same people, because just like my students, the people who are more likely, we have these things where you can, in the teacher workroom, you can like leave a little note, like giving a rah-rah to another teacher for, what they do, like a praise, whatever. But it's always the same people, because just like with my students, the people who are most likely, like the people that I know, like that I'm closest with, are the same kind of people who aren't going to put a note on the board like that. You know what I mean? Like, none of us go to the teacher workroom. We're busy in our rooms doing crap. I'm not going to teach workroom. So it's always the same. It's the same group of people it's just same people being self-congratulatory. And it's good, because many of them do deserve it. But it's just like, they're like, oh, and this person has such a rapport with their students. And I'm like, I also have a really good rapport with my students, right? Have we ever once acknowledged that at one of these meetings? Oh, we haven't? Oh, that's right. Because I'm the Latin teacher who hides in his room and no one cares about, because I don't have a bunch of friends here, because I don't have time for that nonsense. So I get it, and I don't care. And it shouldn't be about that. But it's also the same. It's just like, welcome to Building 5, where William Stoner lives. We're a bunch of William Stoners in this thing.
Aww.
It's just, it's just depressing. So, and I don't know.
Yeah. But just quickly to answer your question, Tom
Catcher
Kevin,
in the Rye.
I'm sorry.
I was telling AP I hate Catcher in the Rye.
Oh,
I despise Holden Caulfield. Hate him.
I don't compose music, but I have read books before that have kind of like given me a sort of symphonic feel to it, or where I feel like there's almost music to it. And I think I've said that many times before about when I was reading Malazan, like Memories of Ice. I don't know. There's something musical about it.
For sure.
Yeah. And I don't know, but I think something that I've been really enjoying lately too in books this year, and Stoner kind of speaks to this, and I don't know what it is just books that kind of oddly, and maybe it's fall season too, I don't know, but books that sort of evoke this sense of like quietness. I cannot even explain what that means, but there's like this sense of like stillness. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but somehow I get that idea. Let's see. I'm catching up on Tom Holt.
That's KJ Parker.
Oh, okay.
He writes like humorous fantasy, I think, under Tom Holt. I ain't reading that. I'm not reading it.
Zara read it and loved it.
I know, because she is also like the problem is I have no actual allies. Everyone betrays me at some point. I am literally I am freaking Caligula in the corner of the room, paranoid.
Everybody betrays you at some point.
Everyone. I expect betrayal at this point.
Oh man. Do you and Zara tend to have similar tastes though? Because I know you've been reading a lot of KJ Parker. So
yeah, Zara and I are the only ones that like KJ Parker. I mean, it's just she and I. But she likes First Law, but she also likes The Love Hypothesis and Empire of the Vampire.
Yeah.
And other stuff that I don't like. So,
so I think loves Stoner. I know that.
Yeah, that's true. So she, yeah. I mean, I think the stuff that I like, she also likes, but I don't like everything she reads faster and more widely than I do. So.
Oh, she reads so fast. I think she put out a video today, like books you could read in one sitting. I'm like, I wish I could have read Red Rising in one sitting.
Yeah. Leslie murdered me like 12 times when we played Among Us on Andy's channel many years ago. I agree, Joanna. You have a very I don't know, a very visual and melodic way of talking about things. It's I don't know. It's different. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's just a different way of talking about it than it's a very like metaphorical, abstract kind of way that I have difficulty voicing. Like I can't talk about. Wouldn't have occurred to me to talk about the stillness.
I don't know. Like it's too hard for me to explain. Like I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain what I'm talking about.
Iola Books. I have read the first chapter of Empire of the Vampire.
Oh, you have?
Yes. I read it. The Amazon preview. It is. I hate so much about it. Like there's not anything that I don't hate about it. Nothing. There's not one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like Sarah too. Sarah's betrayed me. She's like, oh yeah, I read the whole Nevernight. I'm like, I read the first chapter of Nevernight too, and I hate everything about it too.
Oh.
I don't like one thing. Not a single thing about it.
I haven't read it. I haven't read any Jacob Christoph.
It is just going to be one of those things that's just antithetical to what I enjoy.
But I'm kind of scared to read it, honestly, because I get actually scared to read books that everybody loves because I'm so scared I'm going to be the one person who doesn't love it.
No, you got to lean into that, Joanna. Do it and then come over to my side and don't listen. And when people are like, you don't like that, you know what you're talking about, say, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Like you got to lean into that. Who cares if you don't like it? You're allowed to not like crap. And I only read the first chapter, Anita. And I read it because everyone was talking, because Jimmy was talking about it and was
But
trying.
what if I read Sunland Ascends and don't like it?
Jimmy doesn't like it. Jimmy
Yeah,
didn't like it.
true.
And who else didn't like it? Leanna didn't like it. So there's many of my friends read it and don't enjoy it. Elle liked it, but never continued. Like she liked it enough. So there's a lot of people that it Sunland Ascends isn't for everybody. You may not like The Company, which will make me sad, but I understand. Like I don't expect anybody to like KJ Parker.
Yeah.
I expect people to not enjoy KJ.
I'm like famous for this. Abby like did a shout out on her channel.
I don't know why
like,
she didn't call me. I don't like it
if
either.
you don't like this book, subscribe to Joanna. And it's like the book that all of Fantasy BookTube loves. She's like, if you don't like Jade City, you might want to subscribe to Joanna. I'm like, everybody's going to unsubscribe to me now, Abby. Thanks.
Oh, no. Just lean into it. And what Jason said right there, I didn't like Murderbot either. And this was when peak Murderbot popularity was out. I said, I do not understand why everyone likes this, because the hype behind it, like it was fine.
I liked it. I just couldn't. Yeah, I got to book 2 and I was like, I finished book 2 and I was like, nah.
Everyone was talking about, oh my gosh, it is now again, this goes back to my theory that people are influenced by what they see and hear, because at the time 2 very, very, very large BookTube channels were hyping up Murderbot like it was nobody's business. Does that have anything to do with the fact that everyone was liking Murderbot at the time? I don't know. We can have that discussion at a different time.
I do think, because I know like Charmaine loved it, right? And I think a few of the people I've talked to who loved Murderbot, they're people who considers themselves, who are very self-proclaimed introverts that sort of don't like people, or they say they don't. I don't think that's true about Charmaine, but they say they kind of like, oh, I don't want to be social, but I just want to be with my, do my thing. And I don't know. People I know who have a certain type of personality love Murderbot. Like he speaks to their soul.
Sure.
And I just think that if you're somebody who's not quite that personality or don't quite have that sort of introverted appeal, I just think that it's probably not going to resonate for you as much. Yeah, but if you are, Murderbot might speak to your soul, because I think that's like a common trend I've noticed with people who love Murderbot.
Sure. I like Name of the Wind. I like the first one a lot. I like Rothfuss writing. I don't like the second one as much at all. Like I like the first half of the second one, and then he leaves a location that we've been at that I didn't want him to leave, and it just never reaches the same place that it was. But I like Name of the Wind because I don't like the ending of Name of the Wind. I actually despise the ending of Name of the Wind. The whole last sequence with, and you know what it is. It's the big action sequence at the end of the book. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I think it's the dumbest. I hate it. Oh my gosh, why am I reminded about this? I loved that book until that last sequence. And I thought it was the dumbest freaking thing I've ever seen.
God, I don't remember it anymore. I feel so embarrassed.
I'm going to private message you in the private chat. You'll see it. But
it didn't really stay with me. That's the sad thing.
It told me what kept me reading is I was interested in the Chandrian. Like that's what I'm interested in. And then I've read 2 books. I've read 2,500 pages, and I don't know a dang thing about the Chandrian. And that irritates me because that is what sold me, is the prologue or like the first section when he's young and the freaking Chandrian. I thought that was awesome. Like I was like, this is so creepy and so cool. What are these Chandrian things? And then a whole lot of nothing. Like I love the Academy stuff because I like that. I think school settings are often dumb, but I really liked it.
I like school settings. I like them. You know, the thing with Name of the Wind that's so weird to me, I think I've told this story before on my channel, but I really enjoyed book 1. I enjoyed book 1 more than book 2. By the time I got to the end of book 2, I just remembered getting really kind of tired of Kvothe's character. But the weird thing about it is that I had a dream that I met Kvothe, and I could see him in vivid detail in my dream, like in vivid detail. He was so real to me, like so real. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Am I like, It was
I don't like
so
that all of a
bizarre.
sudden everyone wants to do Quoth, like out of nowhere. It's like,
Ugh.
oh my gosh, I want to do you. It's like, no, you don't. Like,
No.
stop with this
I
nonsense.
really got tired of him, honestly,
For
at the
sure.
end of book 2. I was like, this is kind of exhausting being in his mind.
I sent you a message in the private chat.
Oh, okay.
You can see what I didn't like that ending sequence.
Okay. I don't know why. Oh, there it is. I couldn't see the private messages. Oh, okay.
You remember that big?
I don't know why.
Do you remember that at all? When I'm talking, the thing I sent
don't
you?
remember. I think I'm gonna have to reread Name of the Wind. I think that's all. Yeah, and I think that's the reason why I can't consider Name of the Wind a favorite, because I really enjoyed it, but it just didn't stay with me. And usually I can remember. I have a really good memory, but that I don't know. It'll probably come back to me if I open it up and look at it.
I explained it a little better, but it's. I'm glad you don't remember. It's dumb. Bye, AP. Have a good night.
Thanks, AP.
So anyway, that's the last sequence, and it's done.
And that's in the first book?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
wow. Sure. I don't know why. I'm just so blank on that. It's so sad. But I did like his writing, and that book actually did take my husband out of a huge reading slump. He loved Name of the Wind.
That's I think I have nostalgia view on it also, because it is what broke my reading. Like, I had not read fantasy for, I don't know, maybe I don't know, several years. And the last fantasy I had read had been Malazan and the Shadow Campaigns. And then I hadn't read anything, I guess, since I met my wife. So like 3 years, I hadn't read any fantasy. And my wife had read it, and Christina recommended I read it, and I read it, and it got me into reading fantasy. So I restarted Malazan after reading it, and the second one.
And you've read Gardens of the Moon several times, right?
I have read the first 3 books like 4 times. And then, so I made it to book 3, and then to book 5, and then to Toll the Hounds, so book 8, and then the whole thing. So yeah, I've read the first 3 books 4 times, and the last 3 once.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people's Malazan. I just right. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people's journey with that series is very similar, that they'll reread the first few books before moving on. I was really tempted to do that after book 3, because I spaced the first 3 books out. So
well, I didn't mean to. They were just too long, and I kept getting involved with life and stuff. But Jake, yes. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Jake, I need you to understand that I had to wait several years after the ending of Water Sleeps before Soldiers Live came out. Like, me and my friends were sitting there with Water Sleeps like, oh, this is how it ends? And then when we heard that freaking Soldiers Live was coming out, it's like, yes, we get some freaking closure. Oh, Water Sleeps is so good. So good.
What is that? Is that Black Company?
Yeah, it's book 9 of Black Company.
Ah.
Yeah, we had to, like, the ending of Water Sleeps is just like, this is how our journey ends. And then I mean, again, it was years. Like, because before the internet, like, it was really before the internet was ubiquitous. So you didn't constantly get information about things coming out. But when we heard that the book 10 was coming out, oh, me and my friends freaked out, because I've read Black Company like 3 or 4 times each also.
Do you have a preference for one or the other? Black Company or Malazan?
I mean, Black Company's shorter, and Black Company's significantly shorter. Black Company is Malazan if it was just about the bridge burners. So,
okay.
Yeah. If it was always from the perspective of the bridge burners, that it's Malazan. It's like
I love the bridge burners, but honestly, I think one of the things I love about the Malazan series is that you get such a variety. That you get, wizards, and you get different types of species.
The company has all those. It's just always, it's their first person is the thing. And this is what developed my love of like the first person unreliable narrator. It's from the perspective of the analyst, like Croker. He is their historian and their doctor. And so he, like the Black Company do horrible things. I mean, because, you know, they're mercenaries. And he brushes over it. Like he's making these guys, like we like these guys.
Oh, I can totally see the influence now. Okay.
Yeah, they're also murderers, but I mean, these are our guys. And I love Croker. I loved his voice. They do have other authors throughout the series, but Croker is always my favorite of the not authors. They're all by Glenn Cook, but they're told from other perspectives besides Croker. But Croker is always my favorite of the narrators.
Are you, by the way, still going to be reading The Darkness That Comes Before? Is that on your plans at all?
I mean, yes, but not now. I'm not reading. Okay. I'm not reading it last June with Philip, who also did not read it. I mean, I am.
I think I'm supposed to be part of that group too. But
well, if it can survive till the turn of the year, then we're good. But I'm certainly not going to start that dense of a series before the end of the year, because remember, I'm trying to finish this stuff. Book 2 of The Black Company could almost serve as a standalone. It is such a well-written horror narrative. It's like a horror book, and it is so good. I love book 2. A lot of people don't like book 1, which I completely understand, because it reads like a series. It reads like 6 novellas. But book 2 is so good. You don't think so? You don't think so, Jimmy? Will I not like his writing, or will I not like it just because everything's because nihilism?
Yeah, I just don't know where I'm going to land with it. I'm a little nervous. I know Brittany did not like it at all, and so
what Jake just said, I think I agree with that, Jake. I think not with that back one.
Oh, sorry.
That I think I agree with that. Like the soldier stuff, like the Black Company. I mean, I just like nothing is ever going to beat the Black Company, because again, it's like the Bridge Burners if you were with them for 10 books and you just followed them. But like the stuff outside, like I do like Erickson's world and everything else better.
How does it, is the prose dense, or is it?
No, it's the opposite. Glenn Cook never met a sentence he couldn't split up into 3 different sentences. Like short. He must have stock in the punctuation company that produces periods, because he loves making himself he never met a conjunction he didn't hate. So they are completely opposite in like prose styles. It is very like sparse in its prose, because Croker's writing it down. He didn't have, and when he does choose to be flowery, he's like romanticizing something. And when he reads it out, because like every month or whatever, they read out from the past or whatever, they always make fun of him. Like, why'd you write this crap? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you in love with this person? Like, stop writing about that and write about other stuff. So it's all subject to Croker. But the prose is, no, it is not like, but if you read it, the Black Company, you will see so many similarities with the Malazan Marines.
That's cool though. I did love the military stuff in Malazan. I thought it was fun. And it did take me a while. Like there were parts where I could see where people could find themselves a little less engaged. But I feel like there's such payoff. Like if you keep going with them and kind of, I don't know. I shouldn't say that.
Sorry, with what?
Huh?
With what? Keep going with what?
Oh, I just mean, well, I found for me personally with the military stuff in Malazan, there were parts where I could see where it's like kind of slow and maybe it doesn't seem like a lot of interesting stuff is happening, kind of the military life. And I know a lot of military people will say that's realistic for being in the military and being in war times. But at the same time, I found myself oddly caring about all of them. I found myself really caring about them.
Yeah.
And it caught me off guard too.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that was like a few different experiences I had with Malazan, is that like some of the characters I didn't expect to care about. And the next thing I know, like even a book later, I'm like, wow, I love this character. I care about them so much. It would just take me by surprise. And then other characters I just fell in love with right away. Like Iron Bars. Oh, I loved Iron Bars like within 2 paragraphs. And then there were some characters like I didn't like Krupp at first either. I thought he was annoying. And then he oddly
You
grew
were
on
right.
me in book
You were
3.
correct. You trust your instinct.
And
I
Iskar Alpest, I didn't like him until his wife came along, and then I just couldn't stop
no. Oh
laughing.
my gosh, his wife makes it worse. Worse.
His wife
I
is hilarious.
but I have the same feeling about the military stuff, like in God Is Not Willing. Like at the beginning, like there's like 2 entire chapters of the Marines at Silver Lake or before, like, and I'm just like, what is the point of what is happening? Like they are literally talking about like what is going on? Like what is like I don't understand this section's purpose. I'm like I literally do not feel like the plot is moving at all. Like I think they're just talking, and it doesn't even seem like they're talking about anything interesting or important. Now, like later, I like it way better. But at the beginning, I'm like, I think I've reached my capacity for being able to handle these Marine people. Part of it is I don't care. Like I don't know who these people are. I don't care about you. Like, but I think I mean I may have had the same experience the first time. It's been so long. You know, the first time I read the earlier Malazan books, but I've read them so many times that they're so familiar now. You know, the early ones. So at that point, I think I like them, and I like them now. I think they're funny now.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, I'm just like, I was like, stop. Like who? Like what are these people? Stop talking. Let's move on. Can we go back to Rant and Damask, please?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting though. It's like I think this kind of brings us back to the whole why read question too. Because with fantasy, I feel like with a lot of fantasy books, it does require kind of and not everything is like the 10 book series. It's not like Malazan, but a lot of fantasy does require such a time and effort, I think, to get invested and in the story and to sort of allow the build of a secondary world and all of these things. And so it's like, I just think that people who love fantasy, I feel like we're kind of a special breed that we are willing to take the time and investment uh, to have the patience to get into a fantasy book
For
in the
sure.
first place.
Yeah, that's why if I'm going to DNF, like I'm going to read 100 pages at least, because I think sometimes things have to, like fantasy especially. Like who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but I was talking about fantasy books, and I have no bloody clue who I was talking about fantasy books. You would think it was BookTube, but I don't remember, like, but I don't think it was on BookTube. I think it was in real life. But then I'm like, who do I bloody know that reads fantasy? Anyway, I was talking about, I don't love this modern publishing trend where everything has to start with some kind of freaking action scene like it's a bloody Marvel movie. Like I miss the slow build of a fantasy book. Like I read fantasy partially because I'm going to start and you know, they're not in the middle of a life or death situation to start with. And you know what? I read fantasy, so that's okay. Like that's okay. But every Marvel movie starts in medias res with, you know, some kind of like crisis, and then when it's done, then the movie actually starts, right? Because you got to pull them in. And publishing's like that now too, because like, oh well, our people can't pay attention for longer than like one page, so make sure that like someone is about to die on the first page. And that's like, I mean, it's fine, like there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that a lot of writers, authors are having to change what they're trying to write to that.
Yes.
And I don't think it best serves every story.
Yes.
And I think
I 100% agree with you.
I think we have a lot of this formulaic, samey kind of stuff because of that.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you, Alan. In fact, it's like I was talking about Farseer trilogy, which I loved, and it does have a slowness to it. I mean, it is slow paced, and I know Mike is going to
Gotcha.
come at me in the comments about this because he he really does not like Farseer. But for me, I love slow paced books. I guess I do. I mean, there are definitely some books where I think, you know, things could move along a little faster. Sure, I felt that way. But in that particular, like in Assassin's Apprentice, I remember opening it up. I'm like, whoa, this is slow even for me. And I feel like I am all about the slow burn, but it didn't feel boring. I feel like there's a difference between slow paced and boring. But if you tell people that something is slow in building, I feel like people are going to have an anxiety attack with that.
Yeah.
These days.
Like,
And then, of course, that puts a lot of pressure on authors.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because I literally think that, like, and again, I am not a writer. I don't deal with publishers, but I have a suspicion that that is the current writing advice now, is like, make sure it starts like with something exciting, because they're only going to read the first page, and you got to hook them like that. It's like kids are taught at high school, like, make sure you start your essay with a hook, like make sure you get a hook. And so some of the stuff I read, like when I read papers, I'm like, I want you to write like a short bio of Scipio Africanus. And then they start with, have you ever thought of us? What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop. You can tell me he was born in Spain. Like, you do not have to start with, oh, have you ever wondered what it's like to be like, shut up. Stop. I do not need your stupid hook.
It just sounds so generic after a while.
What?
It sounds so generic after a while.
There's nothing wrong with starting it with an action scene if that's what best serves the narrative you're trying to tell. But yeah. I read some of them where it feels like it is shoehorned the crap in. And, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And I know, Mike, that you like slow paced books as well, if they're good at character building. Yeah, that's why I'm afraid Alan won't like Farseer either. But I loved it, and I actually thought there was good payoff. Though, man, I am tempted to do a Farseer video again, because I just keep thinking about certain things that happened at the end of that book.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with In Medias Res. In Medias Res is my problem. It's the action scene, the like someone's going to die. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But when every book I read does that, like there are basically two ways. Exactly, Kyle. There are basically two. Yes, that's exactly it, Thiago. There are two ways that every fantasy book starts now. And so I'm not picking on anybody specific because I don't remember, but I read the first few pages of every one of the 30 Spiffbo books that Bookborn has, because just for the heck of it, just so I could bully Hillary into being like, I like this one. I read the first. So many of those begin so similarly. Because there are two very popular ways to start it. Either like you have the slow build, which is like I'm going to tell you everything about my world. Like here is the brooding. They're always brooding hero. And then there's I'm starting in the middle of, they're tracking someone. Do you know how many people are tracking someone in the opening page of a fantasy book? Do you know how often
that's so true? Yeah.
Like, so
as soon as you said that, like immediately, yeah.
It's not the hook. It's that there's a lot of the same hook, because In Medias Res is fine. Like In Medias Res is fine.
I mean, Guardians of the Moon starts in Medias Res.
It starts in Medias Res. They're freaking on the ship, and it's later that they're like, oh yeah, we escaped from Troy. It's burning down. I don't mind In Medias Res and going backwards, but it doesn't always have to be the same thing. I don't know. I don't like people changing what they want to say to fit. And publishing's a business. I get it. I do understand it. So I'm not mad at the publishers. They're trying to make money. I understand that. But I don't know. I want people to write what they want to write, just like I want people to make videos about what they want to make videos about. You know, like I just got an email from YouTube saying, hey, attract new viewers with these tips. And so I clicked on it because I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Because I don't care is the answer to that. But I click on it just because the first drop-down menu is the audience and the algorithm. Hey, I don't care, YouTube. So thanks every time I go to my homepage for you being like, hey, Alan, your viewers hate your Steins Gate video. No one is watching it. Have you considered killing yourself? I'm like, YouTube, stop. Like, I know no one's watching it. I don't care, YouTube. Shut up. Like, and then it's like, go deeper with analytics. No, YouTube, shut up. Stop trying to make me look at this stuff. Quit it. Get out of my face, YouTube. YouTube is so, like, YouTube is just like the neighbor won't quit coming over my house. Like, stop knocking on my door.
That was the number one reason I was scared to start a channel, was I was just so scared of like, that relationship with numbers. I know it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And it's not even just that. I mean, and some of it I think is well-intentioned. So like, you know, I think Mike has talked about this on his channel, and Mike, we could talk about this at some point, but you know, like if you have a huge audience, I guess there can be, I can understand maybe wanting to, you know, show people what they want to see in some regard. I mean, we are doing this for views in some way, right? We do want people to watch our videos.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone makes stuff they want to watch, but when people are like making stuff that they don't want to, that they don't like because other people like it, it's like, what are you doing? Like, that's every other job. Like every other job is having to do crap that other people want you to do, right? Like, why are you, like, this is supposed to be different.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart when I hear people say, you know, I just got so stressed out because I didn't really feel like doing a TBR video. And I was like, who made a rule that you have to do a TBR video? Yeah, like, there's no such thing as rules.
Correct. But then it goes the other way, because I don't like it when people are like, I don't do TBR videos. It's like,
oh, okay, well, no, I think do TBR videos if you want to do them.
Yeah.
You know, if they're,
but those people think they're better than you because they don't do a TBR video. Like let's pump the brakes.
No, I hate that too. I hate that too.
Like, no one has to do one. It's just like, yes, Thiago, yes. Like, get out of my face, YouTube. Like, it's just, YouTube is so hostile.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference, Derry. We're talking about people who are like, you know, condescending to other people.
No. Yeah. Derry's just saying that she doesn't do TBRs. It's totally fine to not.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah. It's just that oh, well, she is kind of saying she's better.
Oh, I mean, obviously, Derry's very excused, of course. But I mean, yeah, it's just.
But you know, when people feel stressed out, you know, about, I don't know, like the content they think they have to do, like I feel like, who created these rules in the first place, and why do we think we have to do that? Like, I don't know. I guess that's why I'm trying to, like, I don't know. I think we should all be celebrating different content in a way. So, like, for example, I already mentioned this earlier in this discussion, but Alan did an awesome history video, and he also did a video on a visual novel.
You got it.
Yay. And he's talked about video games in his wrap-ups. Sure. And I think that's awesome. I'm like, why? And then, you know, AP talks about, you know, Star Trek episodes, or, you know, Rings of Power or whatever. I don't think we have to, you know, confine ourselves so much. And
yeah, I know. But the thing is, like, that is what makes a community, is a bunch of people talking about, like, we don't all have to be doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. Oh my gosh. Second line. I was 17 when that movie came out. And I lost my contact behind my eye. That's how far back my eyes rolled. I'm like, this is awful dialogue. Like, what if I don't know. The community really is the best part, like, of this, and everyone says that, and I think I don't think everyone means it, because you can tell people who are disingenuous, like, it's fine, but I think most people do mean it, because everyone, like, and yeah, and that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with caring about analytics. What bothers me is when people are disingenuous about analytics or act like I'm sorry, when you've got almost 1 million subscribers and you're witching and moaning that only 40,000 people watched one of your videos and so no one wants to watch them, you're not one video away from poverty. Stop misrepresenting your situation. Stop it. Like, oh, well, I guess no one wants to watch my channel. You have 700,000 viewers. Like, shut up. Like, stop lying. Stop it. Like 40,000 views is a lot. And guess what? Your revenue stream's not going to stop. It's just not. Okay. Like, it's just not. I hate hearing that from people who are close to 1 million. Like, be quiet about like, oh, I can't do anything I want to do. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because when you've got that many people, ain't nobody going anywhere. Like, it's a perpetual motion machine. You could step away and do 1 video a week for the rest of your life, and you would still gain subscribers. Like, it is a self-sustaining machine at that point. You don't need to fuel it. Like, once a month, show up and shovel some coal, and you will be good. Please stop talking about how you're 1 step away from poverty. Stop it. There are people who do this. I don't like that. But community building. So the community is the best part. And sometimes I think, and sometimes it makes me sad. And I'm certainly not. I am not like adding anybody here, right? But I think it makes me sad sometimes that everyone has a Discord, because it spreads us out.
Yeah.
I remember the early days, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm the only one that should be allowed to have a Discord. Get out of here. But in the early days, like of class of 2020, do you remember Shelf Space?
Yes.
It was just Shelf Space.
That was the only Discord I was part of for a long time. That was my first Discord.
Agonized. I even asked Jesse, I'm like, Jesse, would I be inconveniencing like you if I like made my own Discord? And she's like, what? No, go make your Discord, bro. And so I did. And it was such a big community. And then class of 2020, like started like more and more people made channels, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And more people got more subscribers and got more success and wanted their own community, which is awesome. That is awesome. Like, I'm not disparaging that at all. But I think the byproduct of that is that it makes us like, I think I don't know what I'm trying to say without sounding like, I'm not trying to sound bad at all. I'm just saying, I think it spreads us a little thin.
Yeah.
Where we were all in one location or a couple locations earlier on, and now we're spread among because what's really the difference in talking? Like, what's really the difference other than who runs it, right? What's the difference of talking to me in my Discord versus talking to me about something in the Grimoire or in Nerdy Narrative Discord? Like what's the difference? And so I think in some ways it makes me sad. I mean, I'm happy we have so many different booktubers now, like way more than when we started, right? Like way more. It was, I am subscribed to so many more people than I was at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like when the Shelf Space days, I was back before. I mean, I'm still in Shelf Space, but I'm not as active in there anymore as I was before. I had a channel in 2020, but back then it didn't seem like everybody had a Discord, and now I'm in so many Discords, and I'm always honored when people reach out and invite me to their Discord. I'm so honored by that. But at the same time, it's like, man, I really wish I could keep up with all of them, and I just can't, and it just makes me not want to start my own Discord because I'm so afraid of like, splitting people's attention. And, it's like, I don't know.
No, the smaller community, I agree. I think our core BookTube community, at least our little corner of BookTube, is already small. And so I think I think we just bounce. I mean, I'm a member of a bunch of Discords also, including the Discord for my club at school, right? So I just constantly, I had to turn off notifications, right? You know what I mean? So it's hard to keep up with all this stuff. And Kyle, I wasn't talking about anybody specific. It's way earlier. And I'm not saying there's a bad thing. Again, I am not saying it's a bad thing, and I'm not saying that everyone shouldn't have their own Discord. You can do what you want.
No, yeah, of course.
I'm just saying it feels. I agree, Leslie. Shelf Space 2020 was a madhouse. That was enormous. Like it intimidated me, But I just think it's, I just think I don't want to say the community suffers, because I don't think that's not what I mean. I just think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know
why. I know. I feel you, Alan. I feel you on this.
Anyway, I maybe I'm just stating something and not making it.
Well, I'll just put it this way from my own experience, because I don't have a Discord, but it's like, I just wish I have all these Discords, and I'm like, I want to hang out with Leslie and Alan and the Grimoire guys and Mike, and they're all, I don't know, I feel like everything's separate. And
well, I mean, because if you have a Discord, like, you by default have to be most active in your own.
Yeah.
Like, you have to. And depending on how much time you have to interact with people online, back in 2020, when I, didn't have to go to work all the time, I had way more time.
Yeah.
Right? Now I barely have enough time to interact with my students on the club one that they need, and then my own. And so that's why I like when people, if they need to talk to me, they freaking tag me. It's like, please ping me. I know some people don't like being pinged. For the love of humanity, just freaking ping me, so I can see it. And yeah, Mike has a huge one. Mike has a freaking enormous one. So I understand if like that would intimidate people. So yeah. Oh, and yeah, Derry. See, Jimmy has a Discord that is patrons only. Like, only people who are patrons are in his Discord.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I feel bad because I'm not a patron to anybody, because I would have to be a patron to everybody, and I just can't do it. But
I understand.
I support everybody who has a Patreon. But yeah, I can't be in Jimmy's Patreon for that reason too. But
so yeah, I'm not making a value judgment. I'm just Mike. You're welcome. I'm glad to do that public service. So yeah, I'm not making a value judgment. I'm just saying that sometimes it just, I don't know. Maybe some of us should merge, and we'll be like merging companies and be like, hey, what if we put it together? But then, people have to be willing to share creative control and all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I can understand that. I really do like. I'm really liking the Grimoire Discord when I am on Discord, because it's like 4 channels in one place. Like,
oh yeah, exactly.
And it's a little smaller, so I do like Mike's Discord. I was jumping in when I was reading Children of Dune, but I'm like, I don't think anybody I'm talking to even knows who I am. So.
That's okay. I understand that you hate me now, and that's why you have left me behind. Like, I understand.
I camped out in your Malazan, I keep saying it wrong now. Malazan section of your Discord, like the whole time I was reading the series last year.
Yeah. Oh, I know. No, I'm acknowledging that we used to be friends. I'm not erasing the past.
I'm still in your Discord. You pinged me today too, and I had no idea why.
I pinged you because I was sad that you were talking in the Grimoire Discord. And so I was like, Joanna, be my friend.
I was not on the Discord.
I was just pinging you because yeah, I know Sarah's Discord is awesome. I know everyone loves Sarah.
I know.
Everyone betrays me for Sarah too. I used to see
maybe that's why I don't have a Discord. I'm too afraid I'm going to see how unpopular I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that Kyle has specific sections in a lot of people's Discords right now.
That's because Kyle has bad opinions. And
there's a section that's like, Kyle can argue here. And then there's one that's like, yeah, Kyle clarifies. And then another one's like,
why do you argue with everybody, Kyle? Why do you have such bad opinions?
That is so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, it's fine. It's fine, Joanna. It's fine. Just
I'm going to be more active in your Discord now. Are you,
Joanna? I've already healed from the hurt.
Oh,
like, you being back would just reopen the. It would just So
Mm,
like, I've already scabbed over.
no.
Make sure you watch my book haul tomorrow,
Oh.
where I talk about all of the people who are now my enemies. Like,
What?
I name like 20 people who
I
are
can't
now,
wait to watch it. Why?
because I'm contrary and I need a backdrop for my book haul to continue, because my book haul is a continuous narrative at this point. So I basically call Philip out. You too, because I think you were on the minimalist faction the last one I did.
What?
Yeah,
Why? Yeah, why did you call us out for that? Because we gave you a Sam Vimes instead of
no, because no, because you guys say that you don't collect books.
oh, because we don't watch book hauls or what?
No, because you don't. Yeah, because you don't collect books. Because you don't. Yeah, exactly. And then you're
I
just,
do collect books though. I am starting. I'm
oh,
trying.
just it's really Philip that I call out. But I think Kyle's on there. I know for a fact Sarah and Colton are on there.
Because they gave you books, so you're calling them out. I don't get it.
No. I can't tell you the reason I'm calling.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll find out.
I'm calling them out because they are now my foes, because they have betrayed me. That's why I have been betrayed by them.
Because they read a book that you didn't like, I bet.
No, they read a bunch of crap that I want to read and then don't invite me till afterwards.
Oh.
Or they know I can't read it and they're like, oh, well, we're going to read it anyway and tell you how good it is. So that's why. They're villains.
But then we try to invite you to read alongs and then you say, no, I can't do an 11 book series.
It is unreasonable to expect me to be able to read 11 books in 11 months, like in a series. That is not a reasonable ask for me.
So it has to be like a novella.
I mean, no, it just can't be. It just can't be 11 books, each of which are 800 pages. Like, I can't read anything else. Like, I really want to be part of that, but I would never be able to read anything else. And I can't live in a world where I'm only reading stuff that other people want me to read, because then I'll feel like, I don't know, oppressed.
Yes. I hate the feeling of being left out. It's a real sad thing.
That's what I'm saying, Joanna. That's
I was so heartbroken that I wasn't invited to the Long Price Quartet read along.
Oh, I was going to be like, you didn't read Long Price Quartet.
No, I wanted to, but I wasn't invited.
Oh.
So I might have to
ask. Philip will literally invite anybody.
I might have to ask some people if they want to read that with me sometime. Though, man, I am just packed. Like, my TBR is packed for the next several months. It's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
Gary. Yeah, I have it on order. I'm gonna listen to the audio as soon as I finish Stoner. And I ordered the hardback. It'll be here whenever it's released.
What is that?
It's Pratchett's bio. Pratchett's bio.
Cool.
It's coming out this week.
Oh, that's cool.
So anyway,
all right.
It's all in like.
Yeah, I'm doing a Song of Ice and Fire read along or reread along, depending on what you're doing.
Are you really?
And yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Where did you announce this?
I'm sorry?
Where did you announce this?
I announced it I did sort of a pre-announcement in a Books I Want to Reread video, but I'm going to make a more official announcement. So what happened is, and I'll go ahead and just give the whole spiel here. So what happened is Joanna Sousa, she and I were in a discussion together earlier this year. And she's always like, at that time, she was like, let's read this together. Let's read that together. And I think we were even going to read Long Price Quartet together. Poor Joanna, though. She is the worst I love Joanna. But man, she's somebody who has like, I don't know, 40 plus series ongoing right now that she hasn't finished. But anyway, she and I talked about reading or rereading A Song of Ice and Fire together. And I said, I am in, but I can't do it until 2023. So we made a plan. We said January 2023, we are going to start a reread of A Song of Ice and Fire. Yolene from Yolene Reads decided to jump in and said, hey, I want to join you guys. And so we said, yeah, of course. And so the three of us were planning to reread A Song of Ice and Fire. Then, meanwhile, word got out about Yolene. Joanna took a break for personal reasons from BookTube for a long while. She's still kind of on a break, off and on. And then word got out about our reread or the read along. And then suddenly everybody's like, I want to join. I want to join. I want to join. I want to join. I was like, oh, wow. And then Yolene took a break. And then it was like, yes, I am doing it, but everybody's like, is she doing it? Who's doing it? And it got really kind of complicated and confusing, but we are definitely doing it. And Joanna and Yolene are committed to doing it. I asked them if they would be okay if I sort of maybe took over a little bit in a more since just not to add extra pressure to their plate since they're kind of taking their time with their time off of booktube right now. But I'm 100% committed. I do have a couple of people that are going to help me co-host it too. And so I'll be doing a video about that. The challenge is I know a lot of friends here are committed to joining in, and I want to get as many people involved in live shows as possible. And that's going to be kind of hard to coordinate, but I'm going to do my best. And but yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited. I'm definitely doing it. I hope everybody who is interested joins us, and it should be fun.
Joanna.
Yes.
The company is 350 pages. Long Press Quartet is 1,200 total. That is less than the amount of pages of Storm of Swords. Joanna.
Did you just look that up?
No. This is because this is what Jimmy does to me. Jimmy's like, I'm going to read 11 books in this series. I don't have room to read The Company, which is 350 pages. Joanna.
But I've been making plans for this all year long.
Jimmy? Did you plan this with Jimmy?
The Song of Ice and Fire?
No, you and Jimmy conspired. You can say this on the air. Why? The exact same thing that Jimmy does to me, which is like, I'm going to start this really long read along, and I'm not going to read the book Alan wants me to. Oh. Why do you hate me, Joanna? I'm just kidding. Like, I'm serious. If you're feeling bad, no. Jimmy doesn't care. So whenever I try to make Jimmy feel bad, it doesn't ever work. If I'm actually making you feel bad, I apologize because I'm just kidding. But Jimmy does do that all the time. Yeah. That's cool. I have not read Song of Ice and Fire since the last book came out.
Yeah, that was when I started reading them. I read them all right around the time the last book came out.
Yeah, and that's the same. And I haven't read it since.
Yeah, I'm so scared I'm going to lose friends because I'm going to have live shows, and then people are going to be like, she didn't invite me to any live shows. But I'm going to try.
I think fewer people care about the live show
I hope not.
than we do. Like, I hate being left out. Like, every time there's a Malazan live show, like it's all like it's Philip and AP and you.
Well, all of my favorite Malazan collab videos that I've been in have been with you. So
no, it makes me sad. I don't.
If anybody in our chat has read through Reaper's Gale, you have to watch our Battle and Leadership video on my channel.
I like that video.
You have to watch it. It is just, it's like Alan. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm curious to see if you still like Song of Ice and Fire. I have not read it in ages, but
I'm sure I will. I mean, that series was what got me back into loving fantasy again, because I wasn't reading fantasy for forever, and then I read that series, and I totally fell in love with fantasy. I was like, oh my goodness, this is the coolest thing. And actually, it was weird because I finished those 5 books, and then actually, instead of going into more fantasy, I actually went into sci-fi. Oddly, I went into Dune and a whole bunch of classic sci-fi, Ender's Game and Stranger in Strangeland and Starship Troopers and 2001 Space Odyssey and all those other kind of classic ones for a while there. Yeah. But yeah, no, I loved it 10 years ago. I hope I love it still. And you know what's interesting about that is that back when I read it 10 years ago, my mentality about books was so different before BookTube. So I never thought, oh, I like this book better than that book, or Storm of Swords is the best in this. I never thought that way. I just was like, I love each one of these books. I didn't really think of it as ranking and evaluating. I guess I was way less analytical back then.
Yeah. Oh, same, except that I didn't like books 4 and 5.
You just straight up didn't like them.
They felt very different than the first 3. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome. That's cool that it has snowballed into something massive. That's excellent.
Well, I hope it continues to get the momentum, and I hope, like I said, I just hope I don't hurt people's feelings if I can't get everybody in live shows, because it's just, I don't know how to do that. But I'm really excited, and I hope people will join us and talk and everything. So it'll be fun.
Oh my gosh, Kyle. I just can't even with Kyle right now.
I'm actually reading a book right now, Sons of Darkness, and it's sort of it's sort of Game of Thrones-esque in a way. It ties in an Indian epic, which I'm going to butcher how to say this. I know Philip just said it in a video today, and I can't pronounce my Indian language very well. Mahabharata. Am I saying it right?
I would say Mahabharata. That's what I would say.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Anita can tell me if I'm right. But yeah, it's very Game of Thrones-esque. This is the book that Patrick said is his favorite new release of the year, but they're kind of like different houses and things like that.
Yeah, but Patrick likes a lot of stuff. Like,
I wish I had Patrick's
All of Babel. Sorry.
No. I wish I had Patrick's taste, because Patrick seems to love, he has a gift for knowing what the whole majority of the world will love. Like, he has a gift for that. Sure. My taste is so off with that. Just because it's popular, it doesn't mean I'm going to love it. I wish I was like that, though. I wish I could just tap into that. Like, what is it? What's the German word for it? Geistwelt?
The Zeitgeist, isn't it?
Zeitgeist. Thank you. Yeah. I wish I could tap into that zeitgeist like he can. He just has.
I have the opposite ability.
Power.
I know exactly what no one wants to read, and resent everyone who reads the popular stuff. And that's why my villain origin story starts. Is I'm just so angry at everybody enjoying the books they're reading. I want them to read things that they're going to hate. So, like, whatever. Red Fury, he said, there's a comment about Philip saying Malazan is for people who like great literature, and he was sold. It's also for people who don't, because I hate great literature. Like, I don't like most.
We said that in our chat. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was in our discussion with Brittany and Jimmy on my channel.
Yeah.
When I asked, like, who would this series appeal to? And I can't remember what Jimmy said. And then everybody had a great answer to it. And then Philip was last, and he said, it's for people who love great literature.
Philip always has to Philip always has to one up him. He's my nemesis.
I love how we're just like ripping into Philip because he's not here.
I make it a special point to any live I'm on, apropos of nothing, to rip into Philip. For no provocation. I just try to find some way to attack Philip.
Well, he rips into me whenever he's live. Have you noticed that?
I have not, Philip. How dare you, sir?
He did it on Book Jeopardy. Remember, he came up with the whole entire story about how you hired me to.
Oh yeah.
To get an alligator on Jimmy or
Speaking
something.
of Book Jeopardy, Philip is on Book Jeopardy on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I wonder if he's going to rip into me there too. He's like, yeah, and it's so funny because he was like, Joanna's an assassin elf. So he's like been calling me this assassin elf for ages. And I'm like, well, that's kind of fun. I kind of like being an assassin elf. And then I watch him with the brothers Gwyn talk about his book. And he's like, yeah, elves in my fantasy book are really ugly. And they're just little villains. And
that's the kind of guy Philip is.
I'm like, wow, Philip, tell me what you really think of me.
That's the kind of guy Philip is.
I know.
Just a
nefarious, evil Dr. Fantasy.
A cad. No, Mr. Fantasy. We've stripped him of his.
That's right.
We've stripped it of his. Okay, well, if everyone hasn't read Malazan, I won't have a Malazan category because that would be unfair. So.
Oh, I'm so excited to watch that. I'm so excited. So that's 4:00 on Eastern and my time, I think, on Sunday.
I do not think the questions were harder on that last episode, Ben. So let's tell you.
They weren't harder than the last episode. Oh, excellent.
People said the last set of questions was harder. Some people have said the last set of questions was harder than they were previously, but I disagree. So, and really, the questions they're for me anyway. So I don't care if anybody gets them.
I loved your Touch of Light video, by the way, your review.
Mine?
Of I cannot say I don't want to mispronounce your name again.
No. Oh, Thiago.
Thank you. Thiago Abdallah. Yeah. I loved your review of that, Alan. Because I was researching reviews when I was picking out books that self-published books I want to read. And you just like sold that book. I was like, wow, the way that you described it as being just very well polished, more than most, and how he plants all types of seeds in it that like careful readers will pick out, and the flying griffins and relationship with soldiers or something. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, and it's a semifinalist in SPIFFO right now. Which
Oh
is
wow!
awesome.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Jago. That's
It's
awesome.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're
Good night, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Right, Mike. We're so far away from why we read.
I know. Well, I'm sorry. I
No,
digress.
there is no one watching this stream that is going to hold you responsible for this.
Well, this was just the why read. I mean, I love the question, and I didn't mean it to be like I knew that this was going to be sort of become kind of like an open sort of format, and I love open format discussions. Like they're some of my favorites, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, this has been this. Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Alan, and thank you everyone in the chat. You all are so gracious and so awesome. And I'm hoping to have more of you on this discussion if I can schedule you all in. Those of you who are interested, who have channels, and I think we're going to go ahead and end it here. So thank you all again, and thank you, Alan. I'm just going to go ahead and end the broadcast now. So have a good night and enjoy whatever you're reading.
Yeah, thanks for watching us.
Thank you.